Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Podcast. It is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, it's Wednesday.
Hello, is this the first show we've ever done on the first of the month?
It might be. It might be. It might just be. Yeah. I got some holiday stuff going on behind me over here. I don't know if you
holiday stuff going on behind you.
Well, there's a
has Tiny Town crept into your office?
Yeah, well, you saw that, right? Here's a Christmas tree. All right. Here are two Giants Christmas Village houses, and here is another one, right?
That looks like bottles of bourbon behind
there.
them.
Oh no, behind them they're bourbon. But
the skyscrapers of booze.
Skyscrapers are bourbon, and then I have a little in the glass too, right here. So
there you go.
All right.
Very nice. But, by the way, September 1st was a Wednesday. So
September 1st was a Wednesday.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
That's how good our memories are.
Yeah, it's only 3
At least
months.
mine.
Who cares?
Anyway, so how are you, gentlemen, on this fine first day of December, the last month of 2021?
Just peachy.
Yeah, nice. I was able to wear my Jets hat with slightly less shame than usual.
There you go. Well, cheers.
Nice.
Cheers to you, gentlemen.
Cheers.
And here's to the person that invented zero. Thanks for nothing. There you go.
For invented zero. Mm-hmm. The number zero?
Yeah. Thanks for nothing. No,
or the concept.
The concept of zero. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Because that guy, yes. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
We're off with a bang.
There you go. Here's to the person that stole my place in the queue. There you go. I'm after you now.
Got it.
I got a million of these. I'll stop.
I think John just got a new book of dad jokes.
It's dad jokes here.
These are like,
bad ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Dad jokes that.
All right, one more and we'll end it. Why are there interstate highways in Hawaii?
Good question.
It's a good question. Right?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So.
Because they're planning on becoming 4 states.
Could be.
Well, wait a minute.
Isn't there North and South Hawaii?
Actually,
East and West.
I think isn't interstate within a single state?
Interstate. No, interstate.
I think it's
between states. Is it not? Intrastate.
I don't know if that's
intrastate is states? Interstate is between states. Intrastate is within one.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong before.
They have highways in Hawaii?
I believe so. Yeah. It's Highway 362.
There you go.
Interstate.
66A.
66A, right, exactly.
Oh, that's a route, not a highway.
What exit is it off the Jersey Turnpike?
It's exit 1Q.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So anyway.
After the Don Ho rest area.
Right, exactly. The Don Ho. A lot of tiny bubbles out there. Anyway, it was coming.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's start off with a little.
It's the easiest rest stop to get laid.
Somebody had to say it. All right. On that note, let's talk some baseball. A little hot stove action. There's a pending lockout.
Yeah. 3.5 hours.
What does that actually mean?
That means that they're going to get locked out. They're going to call locksmith. The whole nine. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You've been locked out before. You know how the drill is.
Yes. You got to crawl through the basement.
Well, here's my question.
Pain in the ass.
Who wants the lockout more? Forget what anybody
what's
says.
the collective bargaining agreement? It's they haven't decided on a new one yet. They haven't resolved any issues that they've been going back and forth, the Players Association and everything else. And unless they come up with one by 11:59 tonight, the owners are locking out the players.
Right. But I'm saying I think the owners kind of want a lockout at this point, don't they?
If they're not on board, if they're not on board with what the Players Association wants, then of course they want a lockout.
Well, maybe I'm not phrasing that correctly.
Right.
In other words, I think they're not as itchy to get it done as the players are.
The players are. Yeah, I would take that route too. Yeah.
It's They're not going to get it solved tonight, so we know
they'll get it done at some point. They'll get
it done. I mean, they're not going to. Yeah, they're saying actually that it may actually this lockout may actually delay spring training, but they're pretty confident it's not going to delay.
Which is probably what the players want.
Right. They're pretty confident it's not going to delay the season. That there'll still be 162 games. That's going to happen. It's just going to delay spring training a week or two or something like that. And they're using that. Somebody who's quoted as saying they're using that as a soft deadline. Kind of thing. So if they don't get it done by then, that'll shift the players into higher gear to negotiate a little bit better and so they can get it done and get into.
All right. Let's talk about the positive things.
So
at least for you two guys.
Well, the positive things are first of all, we'll start with the signings in order. Right, the Mets actually signed Mark Canha, smaller contract, obviously. Eduardo Escobar. And Starling Marte too, who we've talked about on the show before. That was
somebody was saying that would be a good center fielder for the Mets.
That would be all of us, but you started it, so you did. But we agreed, But I think they got a good deal for
I think he would have been a good center fielder for the Yankees too.
I was going to say I'm not sure if you said he would be a good center fielder for the Yankees.
I had him in
Yankees
my
weren't doing anything. He could go to
remember, I gave my Mets lineup. And in that lineup was Starling Marte. So,
yeah, well,
check the tape.
Exactly. So, you did.
I'm not saying you didn't say that. I'm not.
No, he did. He said that about the Mets, but I'm sure he would have no issue with him being the center fielder for the Yankees.
I knew the Yankees weren't going to sign him. Yeah, I don't know what the Yankees' problem is, but they think they have good players.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I got a couple things to talk about when that.
Well, yeah, we could, I can't. I'm looking forward to Yankee talk.
Of course. But in any event, then of course the big kahuna, right? And that would be Max Scherzer. The bomb drop that the Mets actually were able to do and sign Max Scherzer. Now they have the number 1 and 2 in their rotation. They have 5 Cy Youngs between them. So
do you think that's the biggest pitcher signing, or do you think Ray with Seattle is the biggest
Max
signing?
Scherzer's the biggest one. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a Mets fan. It's the biggest one. Ray, Ray was a decent signing, and what's his face, Gausman or whatever.
But Ray's not as established. Ray's not as established as
he's also a lot younger. He's got a lot more upside.
He's younger, yeah, of course, a lot younger, yeah. But and then was it Gausman was saying the whole time that I kept hearing that Gausman was saying that if he wasn't going to come to the Mets, it's because he wanted to stay on the West Coast. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Toronto's a little east of the West Coast. Just saying. A little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not disappointed in getting Scherzer instead of Gausman by any means, but
we don't know what Kershaw is going to do either. But I doubt it's going to be 3 years for $130 million.
No. I really don't think so.
Or more. I don't think that's going to happen.
Now, here's a question. Just occurred to me. What do you guys think, both of you? What do you think for Scherzer is the best pitching scenario for him in his career? And we'll just start with Washington, all right? So Washington, him in Strasburg in Washington, him and any of the 90 pitchers that they have out in L.A. Or pitching with DeGrom. What do you think is the best scenario for a 1-2? Kind of scenario for him.
Had he actually pitched with Kershaw and Idiot Head, who got, took himself out of the running, I think they would have had arguably maybe the best 1-2-3 punch in the history of baseball.
Right.
I think the potential for him with the Mets is at least for the next year.
Right.
Is if they can both stay healthy, then this certainly is better than him and Strasburg.
Yeah, I agree with this. Is better. This is a better scenario than Strasburg.
I mean, you arguably have the best regular season pitcher for the last 2, 3, 4 years, and I would say that you have to think of Scherzer as probably the top 2 postseason performers over the last few years.
Yeah,
he's pitched really well.
He has pitched really well. He has.
And, he started a little bit last year, though.
I mean, what would he go 15-4 with an ERA under 3? I mean,
that's incredible.
It's a pretty good season for a 37-year-old.
He also had a really good team behind him.
He pitched. Was it game
Yep.
Or he pitched in relief, and then 3 days later he pitched, or maybe he pitched. I don't know. There were 2 outings, and he was still a little bit tired.
Right. Well,
which is understandable because he's 37. So
right. He actually addressed that in the press conference today. I don't know if you watched any of it, but he did the same thing. He said he did the same thing 2 years ago in the World Series with the Nats. He did the same thing. He pitched a game. He pitched in relief, and then came back on the 5 days rest from the first game, and he was fine. And he was 35 then. So
right. He was not fine when he came back on the 3 days rest. He did not pitch particularly well.
No.
That's my point. So,
this year.
Right.
Right. Well,
but he is 2 years older, and listen.
Right. And you know what? Look, you need him for his starts, right? So if the Mets actually do, and he said too that Steve Cohen told him, he says it's whatever it takes to win. Now is what Steve Cohen told him.
You're going to get 60 starts out of those 2 guys.
Yeah. So it's whatever it takes to win now. So I mean, and that doesn't just include. That doesn't just, to me, that doesn't say that, hey, Max, get out there and pitch every day with Jake. That says to me he's going to make the moves and make the and do what he needs to do to get the right people in the right positions. And that also includes the bullpen. And if you have the right pieces in the bullpen, you don't need Max Scherzer to come in relief.
To me, it says we really don't want to use you in relief unless we're facing elimination in the playoffs or the World Series.
Right.
Then we're going to use him.
Well, it's a different story, right? I mean, if it's game 5, it's game 5 and it's an elimination game, right? And he didn't start, right? That's a different story. For him to pitch in game 1, come in and relief in game 3, and then start in game 5 again, that's a different story. But if he pitches in game 2 and he's not due to pitch in game 5, because DeGrom's pitching or whatever, and if they lose, they're in the 7th inning and they're down, by a run or 2.
Right.
That's a different story, because he's going to obviously have a day or 2 extra off before the next series starts, and he doesn't have to pitch out of the gate either. He can drop down to the 3rd spot at that point. So, I could see something like that happen. But still, the bottom line is you put the right pieces in the bullpen, that never has to happen because you have the bullpen,
Best laid plans of mice and men.
Well, of course.
But look, listen, you guys know me. Far be it for me to throw cold water on a jubilant time, but I'm worried that we're going to get a really, really good year out of Max Scherzer, and then he's going to be 38, and we're going to really see the decline.
Well, look, he has,
there's, I think there's somebody has an out.
He has an out.
The contract
is after 2. After 2.
But if he pitches lousy or mediocre in year 2, if he's mere mortal, well, he's not going to opt out. Hey, guys, Mets, sorry you're paying me all this money. I'm not living up to it. So I'm out of here.
Right.
That's what I'm worried. I'm worried that he's,
but here's the thing, too.
Another old guy who's at the tail end of his career, and the Mets are going to get a good year out of him, and then they're going to be paying him $46 million a year, whatever it is.
With training and conditioning, I don't see any reason. I mean, it's not like he was breaking down last year. He had one of the best years of his career last year.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, and he could be one of those supermen who pitches that way until he's 39. That's what the Mets are counting on.
He could be the Tom Brady of baseball.
He pitched 4 innings against St. Louis and with a 2.08 ERA. He pitched 8 innings against the Giants in the NLDS with a 1.13 ERA, and he pitched 4.15 innings in the National League Championship Series. I'm sorry. How many innings did he pitch here? He had a 4.15 ERA. So, yeah, that outing did not help him, but I'll still take that.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, and look, he's great until he's not great.
Right. And you got to remember, too, he's number 2. Because Scherzer on Washington was number 1. And Scherzer, depending on how you looked at it, because, I mean, Kershaw
was hurt.
Kershaw was hurt. So, I mean, he's what? He's 1 in at that point because Trevor Bauer's out, so he's 1 in L.A.
He was 1.
Right. He's 2.
He's 1 and 2 and 3.
He's 2 in New York. He's 2 in New York. Until DeGrom, is out for 2 weeks. Then maybe not. But, look.
You signed it for 1 year. You signed him for 3 years.
3 years to get him for 1 year. Hopefully, you can get that good second year out of him as well. But here's the other thing, too. And Steve Cohen said it, too, and everybody's been alluding to it since they signed the contract. it wasn't just for him. It was to show that the Mets are real, and the money's going to be spent, and people can come here, and we're going to win. And we're building right now, and we're also going to build for the future in the farm system too. So that's what it was, a statement. It wasn't just to get here's a shit ton of money, come to the Mets and pitch for a year. Hopefully we can get a second out of you, and then we're crap again. It was a statement. It was that too. It was an investment.
Even if he falls off by 20%, he was 15-4. Probably should have been 20-4.
Right.
With an ERA of 2.46.
Right.
He started 30 games, pitched 180 innings.
Exactly. So, look, again, it's a statement. So and an investment for Steve Cohen, right? That's really what it boils down to.
Okay.
Couple things on that note.
Talk is cheap.
Of course. A couple things on that note. I just want to read you some opening day payrolls. All right, current estimated opening day payrolls. The Baltimore Orioles opening day payroll is $37 million.
Nice, that's a lot of money.
The Pittsburgh Pirates opening day payroll is $40.2 million. Max Scherzer's opening day payroll is $43.3 million.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Guardians are a little above that with 46.7, and the Mariners are at 57. So Max Scherzer has a higher opening day salary than two whole teams' payrolls. So, yeah, there you go. There's that.
So the stakes are high.
Sure.
And anything less than what is a failure?
Oh, you know what? I'd like to say division win and deep in the playoffs. I'm not saying
Really?
that they need to
all
World
that
Series
money
or bust.
The guys they brought in, you've got to get to the World Series.
Oh no! Believe me, I think they are. I think they have a good shot to get to the World Series and win it. If everybody stays healthy and they pick the right. Here's the key: they pick the right guy to manage that dugout and that clubhouse.
I thought that's why they were paying Scherzer so much. He's going to be a player manager.
You probably could. I'm just saying. To me, you make all these moves. Anything less than it getting there. Anything can happen in the World Series. But if you don't get there, then you have failed.
All right. So what you're telling me is you get to Game 7 of the NLCS and lose. It's a failed season.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm tired of coddling and expecting less.
Well, I'm sure that was just my opinion. I would believe me. I don't think I think they have a shot here. But it depends on everybody staying healthy. It depends on everybody doing their job at the right time, the right way.
That's true of every team who gets the World Series.
Of course it is.
And part of their Mets' responsibility now is to get the right guy to manage it.
Get the right guy to manage it and get the right trainers in there to condition them so they don't get hurt.
Is it the right manager or is it the right front office? I think the Mets need to follow the Braves if they're not in first place and they're not, and they're out of it. Just sign 6, 7, 8 guys for the rest of the year, pay them a shit ton of money, and change your team at the trade deadline.
At the trade deadline, yeah,
might as well.
Yeah, why not? All right, so
you're paying a guy $473 million a year to pitch for you. You got to do what you have to do.
$473 million a year.
I might exaggerate.
That's an average annual value.
Well, not all at once. It's 46 the first year, and then it's 427 the next year or whatever it is.
Let's look at the breakdown. Here we go. This is the breakdown of his salary. Per month, Max Scherzer is making $3,600,000 per month.
Yeah, I make more than that.
Per at bat, Max Scherzer is making $58,000 per at bat.
Is that for guys he throws to, or when he gets to the plate?
No, when he gets to the plate.
Okay.
Per innings pitched, he's making $235,000 per inning pitched.
Yeah, I get half that per inning pitched.
No. He's making
I would if I pitched any innings.
I would do it for $235 for an inning pitch.
He's making $5,000 an hour.
You would take a $272,000
right
$765 cut.
Absolutely.
Do it for $235. $235. I'll get out there.
Go on, I got it for you. Just give me
give you
a couple $100 and dinner, and we're good to go.
2/3 and
right. Cover my Uber. Cover my Uber, and I'm there.
And you're there.
Hey, I just want to throw this out there.
He's making hold on, let me just finish it. He's making $5,000 an hour, and he's making $82 a minute. So there you go.
It's pretty good.
I don't think you guys have. I don't think you should be worried about Scherzer. I think you need to be worried about DeGrom.
Yeah, I'm more worried about DeGrom right now.
In 17, DeGrom started 31 games. In 18, he started 32. In 19, he started 32. Mm-hmm. Okay. 2020, obviously a shortened season, only started 12 games. Last year, full season, obviously we know 15 games. So he has not pitched more than 15 games. He pitched in the last 2 years, he started 5 less games than he averaged the 3 years before that.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So that's what I'm concerned
hopefully
about.
He's got to ramp his arm up. I mean, he's got to actually work out. He's got to be pitching. He's got to be throwing on a regular basis so that his arm, acts the way it should at this particular point in his career. He doesn't have to be that 24-year-old pitcher, but he sure as hell needs to be a 32-year-old pitcher.
How many innings was he throwing in those seasons?
Same amount. I mean, 7, 6, 7, 8. Well, not 8. I mean, very rarely.
A little over 200. Mm-hmm. 201, 217.
Oh, not per game. I'm sorry. Total. Yeah. No, he was around 200.
No. Well, that was my ultimate question was per game.
Right.
Per game, divide 200 by 30. There's your answer.
6.
Okay.
6 and change 7. Yeah, right there.
Okay. So he's.
Yeah, he averaged.
Now, is that, I don't know, is that considered above average? Is anything above 6 innings considered above average in today's league?
In today's league, yeah. If you hit 7 on a regular basis, you're pitching above average. Because you need two relief pitchers. You need one reliever for an inning and then a closer, and the game's done, right? So.
Well, you hit
7. You need one inning guy and a closer.
So, and we talk about pitchers being brought up in the age where they don't, right? Nobody pitches a complete game anymore.
No.
How many complete games? In other words, DeGrom's been pushed. He's been brought up in the era where nobody pitches a lot of innings. Mm-hmm. And he's been pushed at many times because of an anemic Mets offense to pitch extra innings.
Exactly. So between the anemic Mets offense and the lackluster bullpen. So if the offense can score runs like they really should be able to with this lineup, and I know we said the same thing last year, but it is a better lineup this year with the players they got, and and they do something to the bullpen. And I know they lost the best piece in that damn bullpen that they had, idiots. But if they can replace that with a couple of better arms and work with them, then there really isn't a need to pitch him to a 7th inning if need be. If he's cruising along at 60 pitches after 6 innings, sure, go out there for the 7th.
Yeah, I mean,
but if he's approaching 90 plus pitches, and you have the runs, the run support in that game, and you have good arms in the bullpen, there's no need for him to come back out after the.
And as much as we kind of, I think we all dislike the way that happens now with having all these relievers coming and stuff, but he was kind of a throwback to the days when you left your pitcher out there until he got in trouble, right?
So here's a throwback to 2013.
Right.
Yeah. There was no,
way back then.
And
here's
as long as he was pitching well, you left him on the mound, and then when he got in trouble, you brought in the bullpen.
Here's Scherzer's average innings. This is where they're going to need to go with their bullpen and with DeGrom. Mm-hmm. Scherzer, 2013 on 214, 220, 228, 228, 200, 220. 2019, 172. 2021, 179.
Mm-hmm.
Now was he hurt?
No.
Still a couple times. He
started 30 games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the average was 33, 34, 33, 32, 30. So he started the same amount of games in 2021, but pitched
at least 25 innings less.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's almost one inning less per start.
Almost 1 inning less per start. Yeah. All right. So
so
they have work they need to do on the bullpen is basically in a nutshell what they need to do. And run support as well. Obviously that goes hand in hand. But if they work on the bullpen, and that bullpen can be, a strong point instead of a liability, then
and they need a third starter who can eat up some innings,
which is not Marcus Stroman, of course.
No, it's not Marcus Stroman. No,
I'll tell you somebody that I think the Mets should go after. You guys are going to laugh at me, but I think he had a pretty good year last year, and I think he'd be a good fit on this team, and that's Michael Pineda.
Yeah, you think?
Mm-hmm.
What about
look at his numbers?
Just go get Big Sexy back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much the same thing.
6-1. I got a couple things here for you. The Mets, prior to Tuesday, were plus 2,200 to win the World Series. Immediately following the signing of Max Scherzer, they dropped down to plus 1,200 to win the World Series. So,
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Here's a little baseball trivia really quick while we're on the topic of these salaries and everything else with Scherzer and that. All right. Obviously, biggest average annual value signing in the history of baseball, $43.3 million a year.
Right.
All right. Let's go back. Can you tell me what the first $1 million a year signing was, and who was it?
Oh, I read this the other day. Shoot.
It was not Shoot. You
Shoot
think it might?
Junior?
Dave
Shoot Jr.
Winfield?
No,
It was not Dave Winfield. Nope.
Nolan Ryan.
Nope. Yes, it was Nolan Ryan.
Was it?
I was in the ready to say no again. It was Nolan Ryan. Yes. November 19th, 1979, the Astros signed him to a 4-year, $4.5 million contract. That was the first, making him the first $1+ million a year player.
No, I must have been some other $1 million milestone I read because it wasn't Nolan Ryan.
It was Nolan Ryan. That was the first $1 million a year signing. Can you tell me who the first $100 million contract was? Not per year, obviously.
Oh, yeah, maybe this is what I read.
The first $100 million per year contract. $100 million contract.
Doesn't help me remember the name, though.
$100 million contract.
Was it
I'll give you a hint. The contract
it was somebody on the Dodgers, wasn't it?
Yes, the Dodgers.
I can't remember his name.
He
didn't live up. He didn't live up to it.
No, his the contract was 7 years, $105 million.
He was on the Yankees too, right?
It was after the '98 season. After the '98 season, the Dodgers signed him to a 7-year, $105 million contract.
And he was on the Yankees also, right?
Maybe.
Didn't he pitch for the Yankees?
Was it a pitcher? I think it was a pitcher.
He was a pitcher.
I can't remember his name. I don't think he played for the Yankees.
I thought he did.
He did?
Yeah.
Kevin Brown?
Kevin Brown, yeah.
Kevin Brown. I knew it was a boring name.
It's funny. I actually know a Kevin Brown.
It's kind of a nondescript.
He played for the Yankees after that.
After that. Yeah, not before that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Right.
So Kevin Brown, yeah. The Dodgers signed him after the '98 season to a 7-year, $105 million contract. That was the first $100 million plus contract in the history of MLB. All right. One more. Can you name the first time there were two $150 million plus contracts signed in the same offseason? It's the first time they ever had a $150 million plus contract. Two of them signed in the same offseason.
Different teams, though.
No, same team.
Oh, same team.
Same team.
Kind of narrows it down, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it's Baltimore.
No, it's not Kansas City either.
Was it the
Dodgers?
Dodgers?
The Seattle Pilots back in
Was it the Dodgers?
It was not the Dodgers.
Was it the Yankees?
It was the Yankees.
It was the Yankees. Okay, So when would they have signed two $150 million? I couldn't tell you how much anybody made on the Yankees. So who would be $150 million men?
Two $150 million plus men signed in the same offseason.
Is Derek Jeter one of them?
No.
Was it A-Rod? Because that was even higher than that.
So it was higher, but it wasn't that. It was before. All right, I'll give you the two contracts. One of them was 7 years for $161 million, and one of them was 8 years for $180 million.
Were they both pitchers?
Nope.
Were either one of them pitchers?
Yes.
So one was a pitcher and one was not.
That would be correct.
And they were free agents.
Yes.
So they were coming to the Yankees from
Yes.
somewhere else, both of them.
Correct.
Okay, so they were not re-signings.
And it was before A-Rod. I'm guessing it, or was it after A-Rod?
Well, let's put it this way. We're clearly going in sequential order here. One was 79, one was 98.
Was it Jeter and Rivera?
No. It was not.
That's right. These guys were not on the Yankees. They were free agent signings from another team.
79 and what?
No. The Nolan Ryan was 79, and the Kevin Brown was 98, and they're going in sequential order. Obviously, it's newer than 98.
So it's after 98.
After 98 is my point, yeah. How long after 98 is the question.
Giambi?
No. One was a pitcher. One was a starting pitcher. I'll give you that. One was a position player.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you his position because then you might narrow it down.
Was it Bernie and Roger Clemens?
Mark Teixeira?
Maybe.
Who's maybe? Teixeira or Clemens?
Well,
or Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams.
Well,
it's maybe one of those names.
Who else signed that year with Teixeira?
Teixeira signed a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what year that was.
All right.
Don't tell me. It's not Mark Teixeira. Is he one of them?
It might be. I mean, if I tell you it was or it wasn't, then that might lead you to the answer either way. So, do you want me to give you that at least, or?
It's CC maybe.
All right.
CC was there before.
All right, I'll.
So I'm going to go CC and Teixeira.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you both got the halves right.
Okay.
It's CC Sabathia signed on December 18th, 2008 for 7 years, $161 million. And Mark Teixeira signed 3 weeks later on January 6th, 2009.
See, it wasn't the same year.
It was the same off season. I said off season.
I know. I'm saying that's what made it a little.
Well, it was the same. Well, I mean, you can't say the same, not the same year, because, I mean, it's not like it was a year ahead. It was 3 weeks apart, just spanned over New Year's is all. But, yeah, CC signed for 7.
Like we would know the dates when their contracts were signed anyway.
Well, yeah, it's the off-season.
Signed in 2004, and the other was signed in 2005.
John Wood, he has it written down on his calendar.
I do. It's right here. But, CC signed for 7 years, 161, and Teixeira signed for 8 years, 180 in the same offseason. And then they won the World Series. So there you go. So same year.
There we go.
There you go.
That's CC.
And that's the last time, but, you know.
The Mets have to sign somebody for
the Mets have to sign somebody else for
$100+ million.
For $100+ million, and they'll win the World Series. There you go.
Right, okay, come on, Uncle Steve. Let's go.
There you go. Pony it up. Let's go.
I don't think he's done yet.
I don't think he is either. I wouldn't. I asked you this before. I really think that they're gonna, you're gonna see another arm. I don't think they're done with pitching. You're gonna see a couple in the bullpen, and you're gonna see some moves from the minors. You'll see some things moving around.
I got a closer for you.
But I don't want a closer. Not yours anyway. But whatchamacallit? You got a closer? Because he's not a closer, so you got somebody else that is a closer.
I
think I would not be shocked to see Chris Bryant on the team. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing.
I think Chris Bryant's a great fit on the Mets, and they could probably get him for not that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. Let's jump to the Yankees for a second. I want to see Harry's reaction here. They tendered a contract to Gary Sanchez. You did see that, right? Yeah. So they didn't.
He might turn it down, though.
They didn't
turn it down.
They didn't non-tender him. Are you kidding me? If you were Gary Sanchez, you would turn down a tender contract?
I'm saying he could.
I mean, he could, but
since
you're stupid.
Since we're talking about ridiculous things,
right?
I don't think the Yankees non-tendered anyone. Actually,
why are the Yankees? So
was that the end of the question?
To which there's
why are the Yankees?
Why will they not give the fuck up on Gary Sanchez?
I don't know.
Or some of these other motherfuckers. Now, Tyler Wade, I wanted to keep.
Yeah,
they decided to get.
They let Tyler Wade go. They cut Clint Frazier last week.
Frazier's okay. Frazier was a bust. The reality with the Yankees is that all of their decisions are hindering around keeping Gleyber Torres somewhere in the infield. We don't know. Can he play second base? He's a shitty second baseman. He's a really shitty shortstop.
Right.
And he hit 240 last year. So let's build our whole infield around him. And let's sign Gary Sanchez to a contract, who might be the worst defensive catcher in baseball, and I think hit 200.
Right.
And here's the thing.
This tells you everything you need to know about the Yankees.
The Yankees said they were going to improve at catcher.
Mm-hmm.
They said that.
Well,
officially. And
there's not a lot of great catchers.
Now they're like, well, there really was nobody else out there better than Gary Sanchez.
They'd be better off letting Higashioka start the bulk of the games.
Well, he did.
But
right, that's just the thing.
Then bring somebody up. Sanchez. They don't have anybody in AAA that they can bring up to pack up Higashioka.
You're going to bring Sanchez in or keep him. Cole doesn't want to pitch to him, and other guys don't want to pitch to him either.
Right.
So if you do get into the playoffs,
I think he's a black cloud in that clubhouse. Mm-hmm. I think he's a weird guy who has confidence issues, who's underperformed, and does not live up to the history of Yankee catchers. You got to move on. But what are we going to do? Sign a contract on him. So now we've got another issue where Gary Sanchez is on the Yankees, and the Yankees are going to have to platoon him again.
Right.
So they're going to keep Higashioka and Sanchez and platoon a catcher.
Yep.
All right.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think at this particular moment in time would be a better catcher for the Yankees? Gary Sanchez or Yogi Berra?
Well, the Johnny Bench batter up backstop.
Even better. There you go.
Gary
right.
Sanchez.
Well, listen, the Cubs are kind of making up for everybody they dumped, right? I mean, if any, talk about what the Mets have done. The Cubs seem to have a plan, right?
There's some form of a plan going on there. They picked up a couple of people. I mean, they got. I wouldn't be surprised to see. They do now.
Yeah, who did they sign?
The Cubs.
The Cubs, yeah.
Well, they signed Yan Gomes
and Stroman,
the catcher. And Stroman, and I thought there was somebody else.
They did. There was somebody else. Yeah,
I mean, are you guys really sad with Stroman gone?
Not really. Yeah, he was. He was.
You know what? He's a guy who pitched innings. He had the 8th best ERA, I think, in the National League last year. Now, is he fiery and a bit of a pain in the ass? Yes, but
he's an innings eater. You're right.
He's an innings eater. He would have been a quality pitcher. He would have been a great third.
But do you really think Cohen would have let him go if he didn't have something else up his sleeve to re-sign him? I mean, I don't because Steve Cohen
has proven at least to me, and you call me out on it if you want, but at least to me, in the last week, Steve Cohen has proven to me that there's a pretty damn strong possibility that he told Sandy Alderson, "Hey, I'm spending money. Shut up." Is what it boils down to. So, I don't think that he went to that point and then said, "All right, I'm done." No, he didn't. There's more to do, and he's going to do it. And I'm not saying he's going to sign another $330 million contracts by any means, but he's going to get more pieces in. And whether that is Chris Bryant or whether it is, they're clearly going to bring some bullpen arms in. They at least have to replace Loop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me.
And if the Yankees really wanted to go out there, beating the Cubs to a Yan Gomes would have been a way of saying, "Hey, we're moving on. We're moving ahead here."
And then Gary Sanchez would have been the Cubs catcher.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let me pull up this list here. I think this is updated as of they have Gomes signing today. So here's the according to Major League Baseball, here's the free agent catchers. You tell me who you want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Gomes is the head of the class,
right? But he's gone. Okay, this is who's left. Luke Maley, Stephen Vogt, Grayson Grenier, Jeff Mathis, who's 39, Rob Brantley, Yohel Pozo. I don't even.
Yohel Pozo.
Yeah, I don't know where he played. I don't know. It just has their names and their ages.
Yohel Pozo.
Wilson Ramos.
That's got to be somebody. I mean, we got to use that name.
We got to look up Yohel Pozo.
Yohel Pozo. I'll do that while you read.
Kirinos.
I like Ramos. I like Ramos. He's a little old.
Yeah.
But
I think Wilson Ramos could fill that void. I mean, is he
about
going to be? Is he going to be?
The Yankees already gave up on Austin.
They already gave up on him, right? Okay.
Yeah. And Austin Romine, Kurt Suzuki.
Suzuki's 38.
Yeah, he's not. He's Molina's 57.
Well, let me ask you that. I mean, what's the feeling about Higashioka? If they bring in somebody like a Suzuki, can Higashioka be the number one and Suzuki's the veteran backup? Is that a better situation than Gary Sanchez?
My whole thing with Gary Sanchez.
Yohel Pozo, by the way, is a minor league player for the Rangers.
My whole thing with Gary Sanchez
is
that he is a black cloud in that lineup. Sanchez. I think the Yankees need to make a big move, and they didn't when they re-signed Boone. They're like, they really do believe that they've got the pieces, and they're not giving up on these guys who are now getting kind of old and have not performed in the last 4 or 5 years. And the time to trade Sanchez was 2 or 3 years ago when they still could have got something for him. His head is not in the game. He's a horrible defensive catcher. His numbers are even worse than they appear on paper because occasionally he will hit a home run or two. Occasionally
he had 23 last year,
right? But the Yankees don't need any 200 hitters who hit 20 home runs. They've got an entire fucking outfield of guys who can't catch a fly ball who do that.
Right?
They don't need that. They need a catcher. They need a catcher.
Yeah, and listen, even look his batting average. Here's his batting average from 2016 on 299, 278, 186 in 2018. And that was with 300 and change at bats, 400 at bats in 2019, 232, $147 last year, 204 this year. Now, you combine that with his slugging percentage in the same period of time, starting with 2016, 657, 531, 406, 2019, 525, 2020, 365, and 423 last year.
The Gary Sanchez experiment is done.
Yeah, and he definitely has regressed defensively.
He's in his head. He's in his head, and he's just unable to get out of it.
Yeah, as his heading has gone down, his defense is going down, and I think you're exactly right. It's one is definitely affecting the other, which is true of a lot of players. That happens to a lot of players. That I don't think is particularly unusual.
The Yankees need players who don't straight. The Joey Gallo experiment is over. Right. Okay, if the Yankees, I know they have him for another year, but they have an entire lineup of Joey Gallos and Gary Sanchez. Right. Occasionally, but at least Gallo's a pretty good defensive player. Sanchez is not, and he just has no timely hitting. And the problem is you can't put him with the way their lineup is. He doesn't fit in anywhere. The bottom of the Yankees lineup towards the end of the year, after everybody got healthy, was really weak. Because the bottom of the lineup can't hit.
383 at bats, 121 strikeouts last year.
Yeah, he strikes out
a lot. Now get this:
he walks a lot.
He had 52 walks, which is by almost his next highest total was 46.
I don't want these guys who strike out and walk and hit 200.
Yeah, he had more walks than anybody, but it's still, his on-base percentage.
What did the Astros do? What did the Red Sox do? What did the Dodgers do? What did the Braves do after they got a whole new team at the All-Star break? They had guys who could produce runs,
guys that
hit, and they had athleticism.
It's a little bit of Moneyball going on.
The Yankees are an aging old timers home run derby experiment that strikes out a ton and puts nobody on base, and they don't work the pitch count.
No,
that's the other problem with the Yankees.
Not at all. Never.
They
don't at all. They don't at all. It's home run or bust.
You had a bottom of the lineup that was Gardner or Rougned Odor or Joey Gallo and Gary Sanchez, and it was just painful. Painful.
Yeah. Well. There you go. They tendered a contract to Gary Sanchez. It speaks volumes. It's insane. But I do want to read this one thing. This was a tweet by Gary Sheffield Jr. yesterday. Okay. So there we go.
I love this.
It says,
I know what it says.
Gary, the Oracle Sheffield Jr.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It says, the Yankees are nearing an agreement with star shortstop Carlos Correa on a 10-year, $374 million deal. I'm lying, of course, since Hal is a garbage owner.
Oh, I saw that.
I saw that too. Look, my dream of Corey Seager is gone. I would really, right now, I'd really like to see the Yankees move in a different directions. I think they have to, this experiment of Voit, look, you're not sold on Voit, get rid of him. Right. I don't want Rizzo for another year.
No.
Unless that's, let's go out and get the first baseman from the Oakland A's. Right. Go out, go make a trade for him. Go do what the Yankees used to do and get guys in here who are younger, better defensively, and look, you got to build a team around LeMahieu, Judge, Stanton, and maybe, throw Gio Urshela in that mix. The rest of them,
definitely throw Urshela in the mix. Of course,
I don't give a shit. You got Andahar. Andahar is a great offensive weapon who just can't seem to find a place
on in the field.
You got to remember, Gio Urshela was a late inning defensive replacement for Andahar less than 3 years ago.
He was, yeah.
So go out and
kind of flipped, yeah.
If you're going to have all these guys, if you're not sold on Aaron Hicks and we don't know if he's going to be healthy, get rid of him.
Right.
But this signing of Gary Sanchez just shows me how much the Yankees are not willing to change the culture on that team. And that's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
And I'm equating Hal Steinbrenner to John Mara, actually. And in like what has transpired from George and Wellington not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's quite very simpatico exactly what's happening with both organizations. But I don't know. I think the bottom line is I don't understand why they tendered Gary Sanchez a contract. I just really don't. Unless they have a plan for him in AA, maybe as an option. I have no idea.
I don't know. And I'll say this again. About LeMahieu, you didn't sign with that contract to play first base.
No.
Or anywhere other than second base. And not that he's not a good player.
No, he can play anywhere, but he needs to be at second
base. Getting his offense out of the second base position is huge.
Huge.
You go and get Freddie Freeman.
He was hurt last year, and they made him play 5 positions.
It's funny you said that because honestly, I really don't think Freeman's going anywhere. Of course, he's going to finish his career in Atlanta, right? But the only team, and I thought about this, the only team that I could actually see Freddie Freeman not only leaving there for, but wanting to, would be the Yankees.
Go get him.
So
go get him and pay him. Imagine Freeman and LeMahieu. What wonders that would do for that lineup.
Right. But is Freeman that much better than Rizzo?
Smarter.
Is he?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Look.
Anthony Rizzo's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from him, but Freddie Freeman's just, I really think that he has more baseball acumen. And not that Anthony Rizzo doesn't have any, but I think Freddie Freeman is higher. Yeah.
But if you can get Matt Olson versus Freddie Freeman, who do you take?
Matt Olson.
Yeah. That's what I want the Yankees to do. I want them to go
Yeah, they should go out there. You're absolutely right. You said it before.
You can't get Matt Olson anymore.
You can if you trade for him.
You got to trade. Yeah, that's all.
And I think the A's are unloading.
Of course they are. The A's are always unloading.
Yeah.
You can trade back and forth with the A's, and
you want to have a good
A's
team.
Are asking for a lot, though.
Go find the guys that are in the parking lot of the A's facility right now that they're trying out for this season.
Right.
Go sign some of those guys.
Right.
The Yankees need some speed. They need if Steinbrenner was really going to do something, then Correa would be at shortstop and Torres would have been traded and Sanchez would not have been tendered a contract. That's how you make a change. But I knew the moment they re-signed Aaron Boone, we're going to have the same thing as last year. And I'm not even sure they're going to make a trade. I'm not even sure they're going to sign a shortstop. I think they're going to go out and get 2 broken down arms, and I don't think they're going to sign a shortstop. That's my prediction.
So who's playing shortstop then?
Vasquez or Velasquez? I don't know. One of these so-called amazing prospects that they have.
Oh, I'll bring up a prospect. I got you.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe LeMahieu could play second and shortstop.
By the way, I got more bourbon.
Let's see if we can.
And I didn't even leave the mic, and I got more bourbon. Look at it.
There you go.
Look at that. It was delivered. So, anyway,
let's see if we can pull up some comparative.
Yeah, I
stats here.
I don't understand. I don't understand why they didn't make a full court press to go get Corey Seager. Like for the instant the Dodgers were done, call his agent, get it done. I don't get it.
Do you want to know why?
And for them not to get him, why isn't Correa already a Yankee? Why isn't he already?
Do you want to know why?
Why?
I don't think the Yankees have the money to spend.
How? How is that even possible?
I think that they are. I think that all this talk about how they're going to be busy this winter, I don't think the Yankees are a player in this market right now. Now, having said that, a lot of the other contenders, a lot of the other playoff teams have also not been. You're seeing a lot of teams that didn't make the playoffs make the big moves. The Rangers, the Mariners, the Cubs. You're seeing, the Mets. So maybe there's something there. Maybe they're all waiting for this collective bargaining agreement to settle down so they know what they're playing with. But a lot of the big name free agents did not go to so-called contenders. Now, obviously the Mets are going to be a contender. Obviously Seattle's a good team. The Rangers, they're building.
Yeah.
So
Rangers are on their way back to some form of relevance they had 10 years ago.
But name me one big offseason signing that the Dodgers, the Astros, the Yankees, the Red Sox have made so far.
Nobody. Nobody. Absolutely not. I don't know. But so is that. And speaking of that, while Pete looks that stuff up, the Mets didn't tender a contract to 3 players, 2 short timers, I forget their names, and Gesellman. Gesellman's gone.
Gesellman, right?
Yeah.
All right. Here's Freeman and Rizzo's numbers. Okay, this is for Freeman from 2010 to 2021, and Rizzo 2011 to 2021. They're about the same age. Freeman's got about 160 more at bats. He's got about 300 and change more hits, bunch more doubles, triples, only 20 more home runs, about 130 more RBIs, about 400 more strikeouts, 350 more strikeouts, 295 to 296 batting average. On base,
they're pretty equal.
They're pretty equal. Here's where there's a big difference, though. Freeman in the postseason. All right,
he hasn't had how many postseasons has he had?
Freeman?
Yeah,
I don't know. They just give me the wrong numbers.
Right. Most of them.
He's got 150. He's got 155 at bats. Rizzo's got 50.
Yeah.
So runs. I'll go Freeman Rizzo 23-17. Hits 45-31. I'm gonna go through all of them. RBIs 2019.
So Rizzo's performing better in the third of the games.
Freeman's.
Well, what I'm saying is that.
Oh yes.
He both has the same numbers in a third less games.
Here's where the difference is. When you talk about getting hits, batting average 290 to 207. On base, Freeman 393, Rizzo 283.
Right.
Slugging 523 to Rizzo's 387. And ops is 916 to 670. Total base is 81 to 58. So Freeman is a clutch playoff performer.
I agree.
Otherwise, their numbers are pretty similar. You're absolutely right.
But
Freeman's going to cost a lot more.
Talking about a first baseman is like buying a foot transplant when your heart is not fucking beating. So you put one on ice so you can get a 2-for-1. The Yankees have two
the
first
analogies
basemen.
on the show.
The Yankees have 2 first basemen that are really good. And I realize Rizzo is not signed, but they have Luke Voit under contract. So if worst case scenario, they have the home run leader from 2 years ago to play first base. And a guy who, when he was on the field this year, actually played pretty well.
Right. So
my point being is that if we're going to build this team around Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres, then where does LeMahieu fit? Third base? I don't get it.
I don't either.
Can Gleyber Torres catch?
Give him a try. Why not? Give it a go. I don't understand it bewilders me that Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman essentially thus far have, without actually coming out and saying it, have thinking that this team that underperformed last year won't underperform this year. And the biggest change thus far is at third base, and it's in coaching. That's the biggest change they've made so far.
Again, I'm looking at it. It seems like there's a lot of people holding their cards close to their chest right now. But the best names are almost gone, with the exception of Correa. Who are the biggest free agents still out there?
Yeah, Correa. Story didn't sign anywhere, right?
Story might wind up back with the Rockies.
Correa, Freeman, Story, Chris Bryant, Kershaw, maybe Nick Castellanos. I think people are putting
Nick
on
Castellanos. Yeah.
Does anybody really think Kershaw is going to go anywhere other than
Kershaw's not? Kershaw's not going anywhere.
Well, now especially with Scherzer going there, going to give him what he wants.
Kershaw's not going anywhere. Nick Castellanos. That's another one. To keep an eye on. So
yeah. But these guys are not.
They're not prime.
They can't make deals during the lockout, right?
Yeah, why not? The lockout's about the collective bargaining agreement. It's not about contracts. So,
well, Castellanos
won't the collective bargaining agreement affect? There's a lot of stuff that.
I guess contracts can't be. I don't know. It's a good question. I would assume that they'd be able to sign, but maybe they won't. No, maybe because of the collective bargaining agreement, they're not going to be able to sign anybody to contracts until it's done. I guess they can have anything in place that they want, but they won't be able to be done until everything's signed.
Here's the thing: some of the stuff that the Players Association wants, right? Their original proposal, 6-year free agency, Super 2 eligibility,
right,
and revenue sharing, which I guess they want to reduce.
Yep, they want to reduce. The owners want to reduce it. The players don't. I believe that's what I heard. The revenue sharing. There's it becomes an unfair advantage. What I heard. I heard in a couple of stories.
Well, I don't know. Well, MLB.com says sources said the MLBPA is seeking a significant reduction in revenue sharing, which would make it more difficult for small market clubs to remain competitive.
That doesn't make sense. Why would the Players Association want the small markets to not be competitive? It makes no sense. Even if what I heard was wrong and what you're saying is right, it makes no sense that they would want that.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah.
You would think the owners would not.
You would think the owners don't want to share revenue, and the players do because they want to be relevant. Why? The Players Association isn't for the big market teams. It's for everybody.
The flip side,
the owners don't want to share.
Right.
The flip side of that, though, is if the big teams have more money, they have more money to spend on their players.
Well, but
their players, though, not all the players.
Right.
Well, but anybody who wants to go there. This is a superstar. The superstars of the game don't want revenue sharing.
Right, but the big market...
they might want to say that they do to look out for their brethren who are mediocre. Well, but if I'm a guy who's going to be making $100+ million, I want the big teams. How many teams are there that would be in the market for those? More teams would be in the market for those superstars if they didn't have to give up millions of dollars to revenue sharing.
It's like
subsidized housing. It's true, but that's not necessarily true because the big market teams are always going to be big market teams. They're going to have the money. They're going to have the money.
Right, but I'm saying there could be more. There could be mid-market teams that money-wise could become big market teams if they weren't putting up. I don't know how much teams pay for revenue sharing. It's not a few million, right? It's
not the team's revenue sharing. It's the MLB revenue sharing. It's the advertising the MLB does. It's the money that comes into the MLB. It's revenue sharing that way. It's not like the Yankees go out and make $1 million and have to give some of it to the Royals.
No, but the teams that make more money have to share some of that with the teams that don't make as much money. Right?
But they don't have to share their revenue. They have to share the Major League Baseball revenue. It's the organization's revenue, not the individual team's revenue. Right?
But that's part of the team's revenue.
Well, it's part of the team's revenue, but it's not generated directly from their efforts. It's coming in from advertising from the MLB and stuff like that, and endorsements and stuff from the MLB. So it's their revenue. You're right. It's their revenue, but it's not the revenue that they themselves are generating. It's coming in secondhand.
They don't have to share the money they make from hot dog sales and jersey sales.
Exactly.
But still, it's money they would be getting if they weren't sharing it. But, so therefore, they could be spending that money.
And the larger markets and the bigger teams are always going to have more revenue.
Of course. And I agree with what you're saying. But my point is it doesn't make sense that the Players Association, because even if there are members, and Max Scherzer is one of them, even if there are players that sit on the Players Association that are there to do right by their brethren, like you said, all right, they're not going to sit there and say, hey, we want to reduce revenue sharing because we don't care that Kansas City can't afford this team and these players, and we don't care that the Rockies can't afford these players, and we don't care that the Diamondbacks can't afford these players, as long as the Yankees, the Mets, and the Dodgers can. They're not going to say that. You know, they're there for everybody.
But they might say, well, now, if we reduce revenue sharing, not only will the Yankees and the Dodgers and whoever else be able to afford some of these players, but now, I don't know, I rank the borderline teams. Not quite big right now, but almost there. Now, maybe there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those teams who might have more money to spend on some of these big players.
I got you.
Again, it's selfish on the part of the superstars, and I agree it doesn't make sense as far as you would think the players' union would be looking out for the best interest of all the players.
Right.
But economically, there is an argument to be made to reduce it for the players. But this article could be wrong. It's hard for me to believe that Major League Baseball's site would be posting inaccurate information, but the league is run by the owners, so they might have
they might have intentionally did that.
It says MLBPA is seeking a significant reduction in revenue sharing.
MLBPA is the Players Association.
Right, yeah. It makes no sense that the players would want to reduce revenue sharing. It just honestly does not make sense that the players would want to reduce revenue sharing.
Yeah, the argument I made
Max Scherzer Max Scherzer in his press conference today, he was asked about the lockout, and he said that, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but he said something towards the effect of, we want to make sure that everybody's getting their fair share. It's going to be a problem for smaller market teams if revenue sharing is reduced. So as a player that's part of the Players Association that's going to be in these proceedings as far as these renegotiations of the collective bargaining agreement, why would he say something like that if they actually wanted to reduce it? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
you could also say, if you were a player and you wanted to reduce revenue sharing, you could say, well, yes, certain teams are going to have more money for the superstars, which is going to make salaries go up, and the rising tide is going to raise all boats. So now the guy that might have made 80 million might make 120 million or 100 million. There'll be other teams that could pay him that, and the guy who makes 4 million might now make 5 million.
But then again, as you're saying, I see what you're saying. But then again, how is Baltimore or Kansas City going to afford that if they're not getting that share of the revenue? Or less of it.
I agree. It doesn't seem
that can make the contract. They can make the salaries worth that money because of the higher contracts. But if the teams can't afford it because they don't have that revenue coming in anymore, they're not going to get it there, and they're going to go elsewhere. And all of a sudden, they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing their AAA players and their AA players, and they're going to be bringing rookies up every year because they don't have the money to spend on big names, and they're not going to be relevant. And they're going to wind up being farm teams. Their major league team is going to wind up being a farm team for other teams. So
But isn't that almost happening now?
Pretty much. But
how many years have we had revenue sharing, and how many teams refuse to spend that money and they suck and they're spoilers by July 4th? So if that's going to happen, why not put the onus back on the team to spend money, get good players, and win, and which should then generate revenue. Right? I mean, look, these teams blow chunks anyway and have no chance.
I see what you're saying.
And they're getting money that they're not that's one of the biggest complaints.
I did hear this phrase in one of the
money they're not using anyway.
I did hear this phrase in one of the reports as far as from the Players Association, and it was, we want to make baseball more competitive. The only way to do that is either to A, force teams to spend more money, and the only way you can do that and actually have it be effective is B, at least maintain, if not raise, the revenue sharing. So
a minimum salary would be
minimum salary
cap would go a long way.
But it makes no sense that the Players Association would want to make the entire league more competitive, and at the same time say they want to reduce the revenue sharing.
Well, maybe they don't really want to make the whole league competitive. Maybe they want to make the teams that are willing to spend money more competitive, or more teams will be able to spend money and be competitive. And those guys, those skinflints that aren't going to do it anyway, who've been raking it in, thank you very much, and I'll put this in my pocket instead of into my team, fuck those guys. They could be farm teams. You want to suck? Go ahead and suck. We're not giving our money that we need to be competitive. Right. Those second level teams that are now going to move up into the A League as far as spending money to compete. Screw those teams that don't care, that aren't going to spend the money. Why should I give them shit?
But think about this though, and really,
it's very selfish.
No, it is. It is. But think about this. Think about the small market teams for a second. Think about all of the teams for a second. How many teams in the last 21 years, since 2000, how many teams at some point during that time frame haven't been relevant? Name me one team that has been irrelevant the entire time in this century.
You mean other than like a year here and there?
Yeah, even if it's been a year or two here and there. How many teams have never in this century been relevant out of all 30 teams? since
2000. 1921?
No, I know. I'm making a point. Answer my question first and I'll get there. Since 2000. Since 2000, 21 years.
Well,
name me one team, name me any team that you can think of that hasn't been at some point in the last 21 years been relevant.
Well, expanding the fucking playoffs has changed that.
I'm not even talking about the one team that got in the 7 wild card teams the 1 year. I'm not talking about
how long has it been? When were the Marlins last relevant?
Pirates.
Marlins won a World Series in 2003. So they're relevant.
So that's right at the beginning, right? So
6-1.
Coming up on 20 years since relevancy. Pirates is another.
They were relevant
right?
They were relevant a few years when they had Stanton too. So I mean, they didn't get to the World Series, but they were relevant. Is my point.
Mariners. What have the Mariners done lately?
Mariners are the only team I could think of, but they have been to some extent relevant. I mean, you got to go all the way back to like 2001, but they've been relevant to some extent.
Yeah,
but the oldest team I can think of. But everybody, I mean, the Brewers have been relevant. The Twins have been relevant. The Rockies have been relevant. They were in a World Series in 2007.
Define what's relevant.
I mean,
having one good year and going to the division series, I don't think that makes you relevant.
But my point being is that they were able to do it at some point. So they've done it before. They know how to do it. Why aren't they doing it again? That's where I'm going with this.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I would argue that they don't necessarily know how to do it.
And they just stepped in shit that year?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they probably made some good moves. Not that they were, the fish.
I mean, the damn Cubs won a World Series 5 years ago.
Well, but look who they had running the thing. Right? That was their secret weapon more than anything else, or as much as anything else.
Right.
I think you can, you can... Not,
so maybe this collective bargaining agreement means that Theo Epstein's going to go every couple of years, go from team to team to team. It's in the smaller markets. Right.
Listen, I think they should adopt the Italian soccer league style and have an A league and a B league.
B league, right?
And if you don't spend the money and you suck, then the B league goes and beats each other up. And
whoever's
the best B league team moves into A the next year, and whoever's the worst A league team moves into B.
Right.
That way, if you suck, you have something to shoot for. Right, you don't have to compete against the Yankees and Boston and the Dodgers, right?
Right.
You just have to compete against Baltimore and
the Mets out of
and at least you get a chance to get into the league the next year. And if you're tanking and sucking and you don't spend the money and you're in the A League, get down to the cellar, bitches, and fight your way back up.
Right. All right, let's just use the World Series as, for argument's sake, as
relevancy test.
Okay, I know that's not fair, but let's just use it as this because I have this information in front of me. Okay, so the longest current World Series appearance droughts are the Seattle Mariners, who I would argue are not an irrelevant team and are not a small market team. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, have they been completely irrelevant in the 2000s?
No, they were relevant a few years.
No. The Milwaukee Brewers, again, 39
They've been very relevant.
They've been very relative. The Baltimore Orioles.
The last couple of years, though.
I would. Well, the Brewers have been relevant for at least 6 of the last 10 years.
Sure.
Yeah, it may be more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really remember. Well,
He's right.
I'm just going to go.
I don't really remember a lot of talk about the Brewers maybe getting to the World Series in the last couple of years.
Well, last year, yeah.
Well, like the last two.
No, there's been a few. There's been a bunch.
Okay, all right. Pretty good. That's probably a lack of my knowledge.
Okay, the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, are they a small market team?
Well, that's the other thing we have to look at. Simply the population?
Cincinnati Reds, Oakland Athletics. Is Oakland irrelevant? No. They're always right there. The Minnesota Twins.
But they never go anywhere.
Up and down. Toronto Blue Jays in a very tough division. They're signing a shit ton of people right now.
Mm-hmm. They did that last year, and what happened? They ended up out of it.
San Diego Padres. Everybody is hot about the Padres. All right, the Diamondbacks. I would say the Diamondbacks have been fairly low key over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The Angels. All we talk about are the fucking Angels, yet they still suck.
Right.
Okay. The Miami Marlins. Every once in a while, like herpes, they pop up, have a flare, and have a good year. But in general, they suck. Okay.
the analogies on this show.
Yeah.
I swear.
The Chicago White.
They had two good years.
My point being is when the Rockies are way down the list as far as the Rockies have not been to the World Series in 14 years. The Yankees have not been to the World Series in 12.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right.
The Tigers, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Royals, the Mets, the Cubs, the Indians, the Red Sox. I don't think there's any such thing as a small market team anymore. I really don't. Now, I will give you this. I think there's some teams, okay, that every once in a while spend money when they start off better than others. And I think there are teams like the Pirates, like the Rockies, maybe like the Marlins, maybe I wouldn't even count the Rays in there anymore because they're obviously, but there's very few teams that sit on their cash. The Rockies have been accused of that for a very long time. And I think that that's true. Okay. You can't say that about the White Sox. You can't really say that about the Angels. You could say it a little bit about the Marlins. You could say it a little bit about teams like the Twins. But
the Angels
all of
spent
these
their money, but the Angels spent their money on one guy.
Yeah.
Or two.
Yeah,
so
and then 2 years
now
later,
three. They got no Syndergaard.
No, so when you think of the team,
he's not making that much.
When you think of the Kansas Cities, the Pittsburghs, the Colorados, all of those teams, even though they might be small market, have reached the playoffs at least once or won a World Series in the case of the Royals.
Kind of where I was exactly going with what I was saying before.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think there is a small market team, but the only way you can really look at it is if you say small market doesn't necessarily mean, small players.
Yeah, I
small
think we have to redefine that.
Small market is for the marketing. It's for the advertising for the MLB, right? It's for those the marketing area. So obviously in an area like New York and LA and Boston and everywhere else, they're going to have a bigger reach of people that these games are attracting these viewers.
Texas Rangers.
So these advertising dollars are going to be higher.
Right.
Now, in a team like the Baltimore Orioles is going to have a smaller area and the advertising dollars are going to be smaller. So that's what makes it a small market team. So it's a misnomer when you put that moniker on a team. It's about the advertising. And that's what the collective bargaining agreement is about as far as revenue sharing. Because that money's coming into the MLB, not necessarily directly to the team.
Just get it fixed.
All right, let me
it's all about greed.
Let me run this down. This is the World Series winner since 2000. Since that's sort of what we're talking about.
Sort of just went through that. Yeah.
Why would you start at 2000? That's really shitty to do. You suck.
All right, let's start at 1999.
All
right. So the Yankees have got one, right? You got the Diamondbacks have got one. The Marlins in 2003.
If you started in 99, the Yankees have got 3, but that's besides the point.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
And they've been in 5. So.
Right. The Angels have one, right? White Sox in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels
then you got.
That's right. They did win.
Yeah, in 2002.
Then
you got like the Cardinals, the Red Sox. You got the aberration that is the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Yankees, Giants, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Red Sox, the Giants. Then you got the Royals, which is an aberration. The Cubs, which is an aberration. Houston. Then you got the Red Sox, you got the Nationals, and the Dodgers finally winning one. And then the Braves last year. So there's a couple of teams there that, had their little kind of dynasties. And those other teams,
you can't say Chicago's either of their teams are a small market team. You can't,
No, I think small market has to, the way it was defined simply by money is not accurate anymore.
Yeah,
but.
Chicago's not a small market. Even if we're just talking about advertising on TV, Chicago's not a small market team.
Right,
but Baltimore is. Kansas City is.
I think regardless of market size, the Phillies winning in 2008 and.
But the Phillies have,
the Royals winning. The Royals winning in 2015. Yes, those were good teams, but they were aberrations. Those teams really haven't sniffed it in other years in the same time period. Whereas,
the Phillies went back to back. They just lost the second one.
Okay, so they sniffed it once and won it once.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But there's a lot of teams that have that year, right? Well, the Angels are a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Coming up on 20 years since the last time they won it. So, I can't consider that relevant in that time period.
I just mean that when I was saying it, what all I meant was that they had been relevant at least, and I'm not talking about relevance in 1940. Okay, like 80 years ago they were relevant. That's not what I mean. In this century, in the last 21 years, almost every team has had relevance at some point in the last 20 years. So that means that the current ownership, or at least some former facet of the current ownership and the current front offices and stuff like that, or at least some former facet of it, has figured out how to do it. Even if it was stepping in shit, they can duplicate that, right? So, why not do it? Now, whether it means they had the right manager that year and then he left, whatever it is, the point is that they did it. They did it, so they were able to. So you can't, that just speaks of the team, that's all. Small market, note.
I get it.
Right. It's just about
how did we get on this topic anyway? What was the original question?
I don't know.
All right, but this goes to all three of our points, okay? So since 2000.
Any more bourbon?
Since 2000. And I bet you guys are going to get this sort of wrong, but you'll get half of them right. Top 10 winning teams since 2000 to 2021. Most wins since 2010.
Games won
since 2000.
Since 2000.
2000 to 2021.
Yankees.
Games won, or
the Yankees are number one. Who's number two?
Dodgers.
Dodgers are three.
Red Sox.
It's not. It's the Red Sox.
Number two is a small market team. Media market team.
Cardinals.
Number four is the Red Sox. Number five is the Braves. Number six, Oakland Athletics. So you can't say they're not. Okay. Number seven, the Angels. Okay. Number eight, the Giants. Number 9, the Indians. And number 10, the Philadelphia Phillies. Okay. Now at the bottom, okay, the worst.
The worst 10 or the worst team?
The worst 5 or 6.
The worst 5? Seattle.
No.
No. Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Pittsburgh.
Marlins.
28th.
Marlins.
The Marlins.
Yes. 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Royals. Here's the worst, from worst going up: 30, 29, 28, 27, 30. The Royals. 29. The Orioles. Pirates. Tigers. Marlins. Rockies. Padres.
Tigers.
Reds. Diamondbacks. Nationals, and Brewers. Okay. At number 19, the Tampa Bay Rays. What my point being is that you could take any of those great teams or any of these shitty teams at some point.
They were relevant
because of they had a good year.
Right.
I don't think that necessarily equals relevancy, though, other than in that time context.
I do. I think that if you're like, the Oakland Athletics are relevant every year. Okay.
Well, I would disagree because
relevancy and small market are two different things. They're two different things.
I understand that.
So, and
I would argue Oakland's not a small market, even though they're sharing the market with the Giants.
Right. I mean, the Oakland market is not Oakland. It's not like the TV signal doesn't go across the bay, know?
And to all of Northern California.
Right. So we're talking about.
I would say the Padres are a small market team,
Well, in that respect, sure, but because their signal's only going one way unless they're getting dollars.
Because they're competing against the Dodgers and the Angels. Yeah.
Sure. So, but the bottom line is, it's about the TV dollars. It's about the advertising. It's about the money that comes into.
It's revenue sharing. That's how we got on this.
It's revenue sharing. So
who cares?
That's what it boils down to. Look, whatever happens in it is obviously going to be worked out. whether it happens tonight in the next 2 hours and 14 minutes, or whether it doesn't happen until the beginning of March.
I think what's going to happen is the Mets are going to sign 2 more players. They're going to sign Correa. They're going to move Correa to third base, and then there's going to be a strike.
So that's going to sign Correa in the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right. This is according to CBS. Let me skim through this here.
I mean, nobody.
Let's wrap baseball up after this.
It's about
Come
money.
on, we're less than an hour and a half.
It's about money, and they'll come up to an agreement.
Yeah.
Because if they don't come up with an agreement, then they don't make any.
Nobody's making any money.
And after a year and a half ago, that's the last thing that they want.
Of course, and that's going to be a driving factor to get this done too.
So according to CBS, there will likely be a transactions freeze.
Yes.
Although baseball work stoppages haven't always featured a transaction freeze. They use the Mets trading Vince Coleman to the Royals for Kevin McReynolds during the 94-95 strike as their example. Because the lockout would only involve MLB PA players, we could see minor league contract signings or even trades involving non-40-man roster plays during the lockout. So they probably will not be making big deals. There will be no workouts at the club facilities. But as far as deals go, they most likely will not be making deals because they have to, they have a question about 6-year free agency or 5-year free agency. Well, you need to know that before you make a deal.
Of course.
The one good thing that might come of all this is next week, maybe we don't have to talk about baseball.
We probably don't. But that's why I think we need to.
There you go.
That's why I think we need to, get it out of the way now.
Sure.
Yeah. Get it out of the way for the season.
Just finish it all up now, and then we don't have to talk about it until March.
We really didn't have much of an exciting week in football, so
no. Just all of our teams won, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, no, and that'll happen again. Never.
Well, no, it happened 3 times in the last 2 years?
Maybe, I guess so.
And the Broncos won.
And the Broncos.
And the Mets decided not to.
I said all of our teteams won. Yeah. So anyway,
as I predicted, Baez is gone.
Exactly.
But that wasn't like I was out on a limb on that.
Well, no, I said that too, and I put that up. I put that up on our Instagram page. I was like, does the Mets not re-signing Baez signify that they're done in free agency?
No, it probably means that they're not done in free agency and that they're making more room and they have plans beyond Baez.
Well, that's probably what
it
is.
I think those 2 guys in means they're not going to sign Baez.
And I think his camaraderie, his too much of a camaraderie with Francisco Lindor and the whole thumbs down shit and everything else might have had a little bit of a factor in there. Couple that with his, too many strikeouts, that might be an issue as well.
Yeah, but, you know what though? I don't know where it is. I can't find it, but I saw his numbers during his time with the Mets. He hit 299.
Yeah, he did.
He hit better with the Mets.
8 home runs.
He had a pretty good time with them. Pretty good numbers for his time with the Mets.
He absolutely did. No, you're absolutely right.
But they got other guys to play the infield. So
right. Absolutely. So we'll.
So they don't need him.
I like I said before, and if we're wrapping this up, I'll say it again. It would not shock me that the Mets sign Chris Bryant. It wouldn't shock me. So
it's a good fit
to play third.
Yeah.
To play third. Yeah, to play third.
So then McNeil's going to be in your outfield. So McNeil, Marte, and Nimmo is your starting outfield.
That would be the outfield.
It's a good outfield.
And listen, McNeil played more games in the outfield when he came to the Mets the first couple of years than he did in the infield. But
left fielder would be you'd have McNeil in left, Marte in center, and Nimmo in right. That's it. And then you'd have Alonso.
Now, what about did you sign Conforto?
No, they're not going to sign Conforto. Unless Scott Boras can't find a team to give him the contract he wants, then maybe he comes back and says, all right, you know what, we'll take your qualifying offer for a year.
Yeah.
Go back to it to reinstate the qualifying offer or whatever. But I don't think that's going to happen. They'll find somebody to take him. I don't think what
kind of year did he have? It doesn't matter. We'll talk about it next week.
It wasn't great. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't great for a contract here, for a walk here.
But and remember, they get Cano back this year too. So.
Look, don't count out Robbie Cano.
Don't count him out.
Well, listen, if they if they have a universal DH, then Robbie Cano could fit that role very nicely. I think. Exactly. All right. That about does it, right?
That about wrap up baseball for the evening.
Well, you did threaten for weeks, John, that we were going to talk more. You said we're going to talk more about baseball when there's hot stove stuff, and you predicted it, and it came true.
Let's turn the stove off, and
we can turn the stove off. By the way, I do have to apologize to Harry. We have a private chat, and I just read his because it was actually blocked. I couldn't see it. His private chat from 24 minutes ago. So,
I
do apologize. So.
I was looking at comments. There ought to be a little thing that comes up that says, "Hey, you have a private chat."
No, there is. It's right there, and I had a window open over it, so I couldn't see that there was a bubble there. So I apologize. But anyway,
since it's private, let me respond. You guys talk for a minute. I'll respond privately.
I got to see what this says. So. Anyway, all right.
Football.
Let's move on to football. Hold on, I got to do something here. Here we go. There we go. Now we can talk football.
What's a more exciting, interesting win?
Well, before we get there, we got to start.
We do. Sorry, the quiz.
We got to do the quiz. Start off football with the quiz. Here we go.
The guys I'm cutting are Michael Strahan and
Joe Namath.
Tom Brady and
Tom Brady and
Joe Montana.
There you go.
And Kellen Winslow Jr.
And Y.A. Tittle.
I'll keep everyone else.
All right.
Just Kellen Winslow Jr. Senior's okay.
Of course. All right, here we go.
And I'll get rid of Robert Griffin Jr. the third.
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. I'm going to keep Robert Downey Jr.
There you go. Iron Man. You got to have Iron Man on your team.
He played football in that movie Home for the Holidays.
He did. He did. He played. Didn't he play football in
Iron Man?
Wasn't he in Johnny Be Good with Anthony Michael Hall? Or
I hope so. I have never seen that, nor will I ever see it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a movie that I just.
There you go. Well, it was in Weird Science with Anthony Michael Hall. So.
Well, Weird Science was a good movie.
Weird Science was good. Johnny Be Good was not.
Johnny Be Good,
not so much.
One of the worst movies of all time.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So,
I've been seeing Varsity Blues has come up a lot.
Varsity Blues has been on constantly. I can't tell you. And I got to be honest with you. And I don't say this in jest. I'm totally serious about this. I've seen it as I'm going through the guide, and there's nothing else on. Screw it. I'll put it on. In the last maybe 3 months, it's happened about 6 times, and almost every single time I'm within 5 minutes of the whipped cream bikini. I don't know why. It just happens.
That's about the last good part of the film.
Pretty much, yeah. Anyway, all right, tonight's quiz. Here we go.
Harry's like, what?
Best 4 quarterbacks.
I didn't know you and Jess were that crazy.
Well, we got bourbon, so
that's right.
All right. Anyway,
you're the one who wears the whipped cream bikini.
Of course I do. Please, you need a lot of whipped cream, though.
Is it Cool Whip or is it?
Of course, it's Cool Whip. No. I don't use the can. I spoon it on, please.
It's spooned on with a ladle.
Exactly. All right. Here we go.
Wow.
Here's the quiz tonight. Best four quarterbacks pre-1980.
Pre-1980.
All right.
Giants and Jets each had 4 quarterbacks.
No.
Pre-1980.
It's the whole NFL. It's not Giants and Jets.
I was gonna say none.
I guess I'm not getting rid of White.
Scooter Molander.
There you go. All right. Best 4 quarterbacks pre-1980. I'm giving you 6. You keep 4. 2 got to go. Here we go. All right. So it's the same for both of you. We'll start with Pete, obviously. Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
Otto Graham, Johnny Unitas, Y.A. Tittle, Fran Tarkenton, Terry Bradshaw, and Roger Staubach. So there you go.
All right.
I'll read them again. Otto Graham, Johnny Unitas, Y.A. Tittle, Fran Tarkenton, Terry Bradshaw, and Roger Staubach. Who you keep?
I think I've cut Otto Graham twice already, right?
I think so.
He's feeling a little hurt.
Tarkenton never won anything, but he was fun to watch, so I'll keep him around.
All
right. It's like the James Harden of football.
He's James Harden of football.
Ultimately, but he's enjoyable. So I'll cut Graham again for consistency's sake, and Bradshaw because he was a Steeler.
Yeah.
So you're keeping Johnny Unitas.
I'll keep Johnny U. I got to keep Y.A. High Pockets Tittle.
Keeping Yelberton, Franny, and Roger.
And Roger. Yep.
You're cutting Graham and
Cutting
Terry.
Graham
and Terry.
What was Terry's nickname?
TB12.
the TBOG.
OG TB12. Yeah.
Oh wait, I have 4 rings on my finger.
Or them. Yeah.
Full hand of rings, Bradshaw.
I need one for my thumb. Wasn't it one for the thumb in 81?
One for the thumb in 81. That's what it was. Yeah.
All right. So there you go.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
You got it. Harry?
I agree with that, although I might keep Bradshaw and get rid of Tittle.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the other way I was going to go.
Either way, I would go. To me, I sort of have Bradshaw and Staubach as very equal. I even though Bradshaw won more Super Bowl, they're part of an era to me where they were the best of the best.
Sure.
And I think Tarkenton again was just so. He invented a new position.
It was a show.
In some ways.
He was the original scrambling quarterback.
Exactly. And he also passed for a ton of yards.
Tons, yeah. He was the original. He was the original Lamar Jackson. I mean,
Tittle and Graham were they were both great, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's hard to put them even with the guys from the 70s. It's just hard to sort of judge them. There's such a bigger difference between the 50s and 60s to the 70s than there is, I think, from the 70s to the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
So no, you're right.
Tarkenton threw for a lot of yards when it was not a pass-happy league.
No, exactly.
No, that's
and he threw it to anyone who could wind up being open after a 40-second scramble.
Especially when it was on the Giants, not so much the Vikings. So. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So all right. So you're going with Unitas, Tarkenton, Bradshaw, and Staubach.
I think so. Yeah.
So Otto Graham gets left out of both of you.
Yeah, but wasn't Otto Graham also like a center and a nose guard or something?
I think it was everything. It was like a Bugs Bunny football team.
He hiked it to himself. And
he was a center. He was a trainer. He was a quarterback.
Stood up. He just stood up, blocked the nose guard, stepped back, threw the ball, ran downfield, caught the ball.
He was the play-by-play announcer.
You'd find him in the booth selling tickets before the game.
I'm throwing the ball to me.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, cool.
When he was off the field, he was selling programs in the first row of the stands. He did it all.
He did that earlier in the day.
Let me put it this way. I'll take any of them and at their current age or place in life to replace Daniel Jones.
All right. There you go. So, all right. Let's move on to
now that's an interesting question.
Dig him up and start him.
Rank those guys and Glennon. You should put Glennon on that list.
We're gonna dig Otto Graham up and make him start.
Mike Glennon or Otto Graham? Who you taking?
Otto Graham makes a resurgence.
Mike Glennon was a backup point guard for the Knicks in the 90s.
All right. Let's move on to some chat about the games. Well, you're talking about Daniel Jones. So let's start with the Giants. Let's look. Giants won. We don't get to say that often, so let's say it again. I'll say it one more time. The Giants actually won, and I do want to say this though, and both these guys know I said it on Sunday. The Giants, they tried their hardest. They did all that they could. They worked at it, and they tried and tried and tried. Despite all of their efforts, they still won the game. So, just want to say it.
And look, you complain about the referees a lot, but that was pass interference, and that changes the whole game. Yeah. Look, here's what I will say about the Giants. Their defense played a very good game, and they played pretty good for the last few weeks.
Yeah, they have.
Their offense does what they do best. They spend a lot of time between the 30-yard lines and kick field goals.
Right. I gotta be honest.
I don't. The other offense off the team by doing
right.
Yes. Off the field by doing that. And Philly, I mean, is Philly? It seemed like they were becoming a little bit less of an enigma or a question mark.
Right.
for a couple of weeks there, but now I don't know.
We're going to find out this week how bad Philly is.
Yeah, no, we are.
Or how good they are.
Or how bad the Jets are. Or how
right. I would like to preface it by we're going to find out which team is worse.
Right.
I think the Giants played their best game and Philly played one of their worst.
Yeah.
I still think Philly's a slightly better team than the Giants.
I think the Giants played a better game against the Saints than they did against Philly last week. But
right.
But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. They played a good game. Their
defense played the best game of the year.
They played an efficient game.
I think their defense played the best game of the year.
I mean, Daniel Jones had 202 yards and 1 TD. And Jalen Hurts had 129 yards and 3 interceptions. So
did you notice that?
That's your game right there.
Did you notice the Giants occasionally were in man-to-man coverage?
Yes. Yeah, they actually played as if they were a real defense.
A football team.
And a football team. And not in a 3-minute drill at the end of the game from the opening kickoff. Yeah.
They didn't have to shift the baseball shift on during the
ridiculous. So
yeah, I mean, let the Giants cornerbacks can do it. They've proven it. They proved themselves this week.
They did.
I was impressed with the defensive secondary of the Giants.
I was impressed with the secondary, and that's definitely a big thing. The secondary is actually coming around. They have the pieces, and they played a good defensive game. As far as the offense goes, and I'm not saying it's the players. I'm not saying it's the coaches, but they wrote the book on prevent offense. You know, that last drive when they got the ball back before Philly got it back at the end of the game, at the very last minute and a half or whatever it was, I mean, they couldn't get a first down. They lost yardage in those 3 plays.
It's very Joe Pisarcik era.
Very
Giants
Joe Pisarcik.
offense.
It's very late 70s Giants offense plan.
It's just
it's ridiculous.
You just had the ball for 4.5 minutes and you moved 12 yards.
Yeah. Come on. What are you doing?
Well, and the thing, too, with the Giants is that it's very predictable, and they got to get Jones out of 3rd and long situations because they're never going to have success with that. Right. And this week, if Jones doesn't play, they're really not going to have success with
they're not. I would start the 3rd stringer over Glennon, to be quite honest with you, but,
Well, it sounds like Glennon's going to start.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about some guys that were not.
Don't be shocked, and I'm sorry to cut you off, people. Don't be shocked if Daniel Jones actually starts.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him? Is the neck?
He strained his neck. He slid out of bounds, and he slid feet first, and he was tackled afterwards, like during the slide, and they hit his head, and he didn't get concussed, but
fine at the time.
His neck,
a couple days later. Okay.
Right.
So let me ask you about a couple guys that were not playing the game of football who worked for the Giants, and does this game do anything for them or against them? And that is A, Freddie Kitchens. Who I don't. B, Joe Judge, and C, Dave Gettleman, who now there's some rumors that he may retire rather than get fired.
Yeah, no,
I think Gettleman's going to retire. That rumor is out, and it seems like it's coming from the Giants camp to some degree.
Right,
I think they're trying to save face.
They're saving face. They're doing exactly what they did with Tom Coughlin. They're going to allow Dave Gettleman to retire as opposed to get fired. That's what they're.
Does he get paid if that happens?
He's done. The contract's done.
He's 7.
Oh, his contract is done.
His contract is up this year. It's a 4-year contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
thought
he had a year left.
To answer your other question, the Giants were never going to get rid of Joe Judge this year. He's definitely going to be there.
Joe Judge will be back, and Freddie Kitchens will be on the staff, but he's not going to be the offensive coordinator. They'll bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
I guess my question about Kitchens is: did he do anything to impress anybody?
No, they won.
They won.
Scoring 13 points against Philly. No, they didn't do anything to impress anybody. I'm sorry.
As far as
he didn't do anything to piss anybody off because they won.
I didn't see a big difference between the Giants' offense.
It was very there was a few differences, but
they threw the ball more.
So insignificant. I mean, it was clearly Jason Garrett's playbook. And he might have had a couple of his own Kitchens twists in it or whatever. But he's not going to reinvent the wheel with 6 games left in the season. He's got to use the same playbook that everybody's been learning.
Unless the Giants come out and average 30 points a game for the next 6 games, Kitchens is not going to be the offense.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. So he's not. Kitchens isn't going to leave the staff. He'll still be there because he's Joe Judge's boy. But he's, they'll get somebody else in at OC. So, but Joe Judge.
I mean, look, he only had half a season of success in that position with Cleveland,
right? Yeah, and then they made him head coach, and he shit the
terrible.
bed, so,
and then he was the tight ends coach for the Giants before
he's been the tight ends coach. Yeah,
getting promoted.
Special projects.
Special projects. They're
Kinda
building a shed out back,
But
and he's
you
in
know
charge
what?
of being a foreman.
The Giants won, and they got how many games left?
6.
6.
So if they run the table, they get to 10 wins like I predicted.
Run the table.
Right? Didn't I say 10?
They can't even run around the
You
table.
predicted
without
9,
getting
not
hurt.
10.
9,
They only
Even
have to win
better.
5 more games.
Even better. Who
They
are
can
playing?
lose one more game, and you'll still be right.
Well,
in
they're
where you're
playing
saying.
Miami. Let's go. Anybody got their schedule handy?
But they're playing Miami, but Mike Glennon is starting at quarterback. So let's.
Well, if you want to be a
and they're
negative
playing in
Nelly,
Miami too. So
Well, let's talk about all 4. Let's talk about all these teams that are in the mix right here: the Jets, the Eagles, the Giants, the Dolphins. Can anybody really make heads or tails out of any of these?
none of them. No,
teams?
you can't make heads or tails. You can't make heads or tails out of the whole league. I got a couple things on, and it's to your point, pretty much. Okay, let's talk about this. The Giants are 1 game out of a playoff spot right now. Okay, and they're 1 game out of a wild card spot. At 4-7 right now, after 11 games in 12 weeks, they're 1 game out of a playoff spot. But to your point, ready? In the entire NFC, there's only 2 teams that are not in the mix to be at least 1 game out, if not in the playoffs. And that is, and you know who that is? The 2 teams?
Well, obviously the Jets and
No. In the NFC.
Oh, in the NFC.
NFC
2 teams that are out.
the 2 teams that are out of
2
it. in the
teams are not
NFC?
necessarily out of it, obviously. If they win out and other teams suck, then they could be in it. But right now, they're at least more than 1 game out of the playoffs. There's a bunch of teams that are 1 game out of the playoffs.
in the
So,
NFC.
In the NFC, there's only 2 teams.
Well,
Don't look at the standings because then you get it. But
The Bears.
Well, Detroit, right?
No. Detroit's obviously
They don't have any
10-1, so they're
Right.
out. Yeah.
Well, Seattle lost again.
Seattle.
They have what?
Seattle
3
3-8.
or 4 wins.
Seattle's 3-8. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Seattle at 3-8 is 2 games out of the playoffs right now. But it's different in the AFC. Is a little bit more in there. Not much, couple teams, but it's still. I mean, yeah, there's still 6 weeks left, so anything could happen in those 6 weeks.
Let me
shore up
say
a bit,
this.
but-
Let me say this. Of the Giants' last 6 games,
Mhm.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. Not one of them is unwinnable.
Well, let's
Not
take
one
a
of them.
look at that.
It's
Let's
the
take a look
Dolphins,
at
the
that.
Chargers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Bears, and the Redskins.
Okay, the Dolphins. That's a win.
Mhm.
The Chargers,
We'll
who
do the
knows what
Francesa.
the hell's going on with them?
Chargers. Who knows?
Chargers could be a win.
That is in San Diego or LA.
Yeah,
It's
but
in
that's
LA.
a great steal opportunity for the Giants.
Sure.
Right? Dallas.
Dallas at home.
Dallas at home. That could be a win, especially the way they've been playing.
Philly on the road.
Philly on the road. They could beat Philly.
They could be
twice.
Philly on the road.
The
Yeah.
Bears suck.
The Bears in
Washington's
Chicago.
up and down.
I'd say the hardest of all of those games, honestly, is Washington.
Now,
But the
5-1.
game is in MetLife, so it should be easier than the one they
Having
lost
said
that should have
that,
won in Washington.
5-1, and they get to 9 wins.
having said that, they could lose all 6 of these games.
They could very easily.
Well,
they could just as easily lose all 6 as win all 6.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
my point.
so
That's my point.
let's make a prediction here.
I think
have
they
how-
go 2-4 to end the year.
They have how many wins right now? 3?
they're 4-7.
4.
4-7.
Okay, so the difference between 4 and 9 is 5.
Mhm.
So the split would be 6.
They're
Mhm.
they're going to
Right?
win 6 games.
So so the over under is 6.
So the over under is 6. It's under.
Well, yeah.
Well, it would have to be under, right? unless you're.
Well, let's
unless
say 6.5.
What did I have them winning? 5 or 6?
you had them winning 8. I
8?
had
Oh,
no. I'm
God.
sorry. I'm sorry. I had them winning 8. You had them winning 7. Pete had them winning 9.
So we
I
all
think
originally took
they'll
the
win.
over. Do we want it? Let's call it 6.5, since we have to have a half. Right?
I think they're going to win 6 or 7 games.
Well, which is it?
I don't know. I don't really care. I don't want
6.5.
them making the
6.5. I'm
playoffs.
going over. They're going to win at least 3 more games.
Nah, I'll go
Yeah, they
over.
are. They'll
They
win.
win- if they go,
you're
if they split
gonna
the
be
final 6. They
Harry.
get
You're
to
going to
7
be.
wins.
You're going to be spot on. Your 7-10 is going to be their record.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they go 5-1, and one of the great stories in the last couple decades in the NFL. They get blown out in the playoffs by 40.
Unless they play one of these other shit teams that they meet in the first round, like the Cowboys, who win the NFC East but are 8-8,
Right.
or 8-9.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, look, the Cowboys are. Well, we'll get to this in a minute, but the Cowboys
the
are.
Cowboys
The
are-
Cowboys are losing tomorrow night because 90% of the damn team has COVID. So, and including the entire coaching staff, they're losing the game. Sean Payton's getting a win tomorrow night. But
who knows?
I don't know about that.
We'll see. Well, of course you don't know about that.
There's 5 good teams in the NFL.
That's not me, number one.
There's 5 good teams in the NFL. The rest of them, it's a total crapshoot.
I know.
Especially me.
The other thing I want to say about the Giants before we move on to a sounder here is Gettleman, assuming that does come to pass and hold true that he is going to retire after this season. There's been a bunch of names that have been brought up, so I'm going to throw them out there really quick, and let me know your thoughts. Kevin Abrams is the homer. He's the assistant GM. He's been in the organization for many years. He actually interviewed for the position before Gettleman got it, and he didn't get it.
Does he have any ties to Joe Judge?
He has no ties to Joe Judge. He's been in the Giants organization for years. Kevin Abrams, he's the if they're going to go along the path of, it's Giants blood. It's staying in the family, so to speak. It's going to be Kevin Abrams. But Kevin Abrams is the name. Louis Riddick. He interviewed for the position 4 years ago when Gettleman did.
Can I ask a couple questions on Louis Riddick? I get it. He's a good analyst. He's on every morning. He gets Stephen A. to, get riled up. What is Louis Riddick's? I mean, why
he worked for the Eagles and the Redskins. He's been in the Eagles organization and Redskins organization, player personnel and scouting and assistant GM, stuff like that. He's had those positions. He's held them before. So
yeah.
He's not just somebody that's an analyst that wants to be in the front office of a team.
No, I get it. I like him better than the first option, but he's still not my top choice.
Well, here's your other three, the names that have been passed around so far. Dave Ziegler, he's the assistant GM for the Patriots right now.
I like that.
All right. He knows how to win. He knows the teams to pick. He's worked with Joe Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mike Bergonzi, he's the assistant GM in Kansas City. All right. And Ed Dobbs, he's the assistant GM in Indianapolis for the Colts. So those are the names that have been floated around. Me personally, of those names, I'm taking Dave Ziegler.
Yeah, me too.
I'm taking New England. That's who I would want.
The homegrown guy.
You want Kevin Abrams.
Well, but
I want Kevin Abrams. I think.
Why would you want somebody who's been part of this horrible decision-making team for all these years?
It's not like if they come out.
It's who I think they're going to.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and I probably lean towards if I had to put money down on it, they're going to stay in house.
I don't think so.
I don't think they will. I think it's less of a likelihood this time than any other time before. So because of the culture and because of what has happened, and they passed on them before. But here's the thing. Unless you can produce a video that shows Kevin Abrams saying, no, don't do that, and then they do it anyway, and he had other thoughts, then I'd be like, sure, get him in here. He was right. Everybody else was wrong.
Daniel Jones in the place and rolling his eyes at some other pick they made.
Exactly.
And then he goes, see? And they hire him.
Told you. But I think the best pick of all of those guys, unless some other name pops up somewhere, unless Belichick decides, unless the Patriots win the Super Bowl this year and Belichick decides, that's it, I'm done, I want to be a GM for the Giants. That happens.
So those words will never come out of his mouth.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, no, he actually still does love the Giants.
Yeah,
because that's home for him.
Yeah.
Old home for him. You know what I'm saying? And then that's going to happen, obviously. I'm just saying that tongue in cheek. But Dave Ziegler is the way to go. I think that's the way to go. That's what they should do. We'll see what happens. It just makes sense. He's been in a winning organization. He's had a hand in that winning organization. He's familiar with Joe Judge. He's worked with him before. It just makes sense. So
it just makes sense.
Which is why the Giants
will not do it. Right.
Which is why next year I'll be watching Gary Sanchez catch the Yankees and Daniel Jones playing quarterback for the New York Giants.
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to some Jets talk here.
At least we got rid of Kemba Walker.
Are the Jets going to win today? No. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes.
Yes.
I mean, no. I mean, yes.
Yes.
I mean, no.
I mean, yes.
Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Who knows? We will find out, though, on Sunday. At the same time the Giants are playing. This is 2 weeks in a row, by the way.
They're playing
this up, that the Giants and the Jets are on at the same damn time. I mean, it's happened once in a while before, but it's never really 2 weeks in a row has never happened before. The schedule is ridiculous as far as the New York market goes.
Well, I think this was a case of, if you're a fan who has no interest in the other team, then you just watch one.
Right.
Or maybe they put them on at the same time and they go, well, maybe one of these two games might be mildly interesting.
Right.
And so you can just, flip to the one that's interesting.
Right. You can watch both at the same time and commit suicide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Split your screen, picture in picture, and just
split screen, and then just grab that bottle of bourbon and start chugging.
I already started. But
it's only Wednesday.
Hey, listen, the Mets beat the Planet Houston, so
yeah, there you go.
It is literally true that the blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson looked rusty.
Are we moving on to our picks?
I don't know if any questions were answered, but they got a win. So
Jets won. Now, I got to say, Wilson's numbers, he was 14 for 24 for 145 yards with no touchdowns and one interception. How bad are the Texans that they won the game with that?
Texans are really bad.
They're really bad.
They're really fucking bad.
They're really bad.
Other than the Astros, Houston is really bad.
Right.
Although I think they won tonight. The Rockets, I think, won tonight.
I mean, it's Astros, Rockets, Texans. And the Texans have been relevant. I mean, in the last 10 years, the Texans have been pretty relevant.
Let's not get started on relevant.
No, please. They went to the playoffs a couple of times.
Different sport.
Matt Schaub was not relevant.
Pete's going to get out his encyclopedias. And
let me tell you about games
won
versus opportunities
missed.
The
downfall of the Texans is when D-Hop went out to Arizona. That was the downfall of the Texans.
Yeah, that was it.
And their best player is still in MassageGate. So.
And also basically any draft pick that they ever made other than J.J. Watt.
Well, and J.J. Watt goes and follows him out there, sure.
Yeah.
And apparently I saw this morning on Good Morning Football, allegedly Frank Caliendo actually had something to do with J.J. Watt actually going to Arizona.
Is that true?
Yeah.
All right,
that's who the Giants should sign as GM.
So the Jets have 3 wins. How many wins did I say they were going to have?
You said that the Jets would have first.
7.
First, you said you picked first, and you said 6-11. You said they were going to go.
Okay.
All right.
And then
then Harry and I picked, and then you decided to change it to 5-12 after we picked. So I said 5-12. Harry said 4-13.
I probably came out of my drunken stupor for a moment and then realized that maybe
you were high on Wilson, right? You were like, hey, we got the second pick, and he's the best quarterback since sliced bread.
I don't think I said he's the best quarterback.
I know. Well, you might have thought it.
He's the best quarterback since
sliced bread.
Since Sam Darnold.
He's the best Jets quarterback since Sam Darnold. That says
all right,
lot.
So they got to win 2 games for me to be right.
They just have to win 2 for you to be right.
So they got the Eagles who... Thanks, Giants. Now they're pissed.
Oh yeah, this is not a trap game for the Eagles. They need vengeance. They need to win again.
No. So. Unless the Eagles are, falling down the spiral staircase,
which has happened before and will happen again, and could very be this weekend.
This game will say way. I think you said it, way more about the Eagles.
The Jets' best chance to win one more game is against the Jaguars.
They got the Saints, who
they're not going to beat the Saints.
They're not going to beat.
They're more Jekyll than Hyde lately, but they're still inconsistent. The Dolphins, I'm not convinced of anything about the Dolphins. I think that's a win. That's a win for the Jets.
The Dolphins have won 4 in a row. They're 5-7.
Yeah, but they're not really winning.
They're winning, but it's not for real.
Jacksonville, that's a win.
Smoke and mirrors.
Week 17, Tampa Bay got nothing to play for, so that's a win. And then
they're just going to lay down and let the.
By the way, almost all of these games are on the road too.
Well, Tampa Bay will have it wrapped up. Tom Brady won't even play the second half. Jets will kick a late field goal from 55 and win it
from 75.
55, 24-21. No, 24-23. And the Buffalo probably beat them in the last week of the season.
Jets win one more game, and I'm right on.
Jets will win 2 out of the final 6, and they'll get to 5 like I predicted. All of my predictions.
You know what's going to be funny? It's going to be funny is that the Giants do win 3 more games and go 7-10, and the Jets only win 1 more game and go 4-13. Harry was spot on both of them. So,
Well, we're all pretty. It's not like any of us picked the Giants to win 12 games. And
No. We were all within a game or two of each other. It's just you were right. You were right on. For both is my point.
Yeah.
I
took the over, John took the under, and Harry picked the numbers dead on. So
right. Current draft positions, because that's what this is really all about, right? At this point, current draft
you
positions.
Guys are losing that battle.
I know we fuck it up every year.
Current draft positions right now: the Jets have the 4th and the 5th pick, and the Giants have the 6th and the 7th pick. So 4 picks in a row are going to go to the Jets and the Giants.
How can they screw that up? Do you think out of 2 picks in the top 7, the Giants could find an offensive tackle? Or a guard?
No, there's no good ones.
Oh, no, they'll draft one, but it won't be one that'll work. So.
Will they draft one? I don't know.
Actually, I saw.
There's no quarterbacks this year. There's no good
quarterbacks
quarterbacks this year, so the Giants will probably pick 2 quarterbacks.
The Giants will take two quarterbacks. With the 2 first-round picks, they'll take 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
With figuring that if they,
one of them's got to be right. If we just keep taking guys,
that's right.
One of them, eventually will hit.
We're hedging our bets. We're taking 2. We'll see how it works out. Maybe we'll AB them. Maybe we'll platoon at quarterback.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, one lefty and one righty, depending on which hash mark we're on.
The Yankees.
Put them out on the field at the same time, too.
The Yankees will probably sign Conforto because they only have 12 right fielders.
Yeah.
Put the righty on the right side, the lefty on the left side. Hike the ball to the righty. If the whole defense is going right, he can lateral to the lefty, and he can throw it downfield.
Well, just imagine the wildcat they could have with 3 quarterbacks in the backfield.
Actually, I think the Giants should play without a quarterback.
Right.
It's just direct snap it to
direct snap it to Saquon.
They should go back to an H formation, triple running backs, and
just run the wishbone. Put a running back under center and
no wishbone. That's too fancy.
Right,
that means they can't go left and right. They got to go straight ahead.
Exactly. Oh, that'd be funny.
Speaking of Giants offensive lineman, I saw his name's not what's his first name? Mr. Flowers.
Eric Flowers.
Making some nice plays. I think it's for the Washington team.
Yeah. He's on the Redskins.
They're like, nice play by Flowers. He's certainly come around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that just never would have happened.
I will say Thomas.
It only took him 8 years, so why not?
Thomas has,
I don't think long enough.
I don't think Thomas has looked that bad for the Giants.
Thomas hasn't. He's gotten better. He hasn't looked bad. He hasn't bad. Will Hernandez though was pissing me off with all these friggin' false starts and holds. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
And every once in a while, Andrew Thomas, I think, forgets that there's a snap on one because the guy's like 7 feet past them before he even picks his hands up.
He's like, "Where'd he go?"
Right.
All right. So do we all agree the Giants are probably going to win more games than the Jets?
Giants will win more games than the Jets. It might only be one more game than the Jets, but they're going to be one more game. Win more games.
It's like being picked last for dodgeball and second to last for dodgeball.
That's really not big of a difference.
They're still the first 2 guys out.
Like the only difference is that you feel a little bit better because you were actually picked over somebody else, where the other one was just all right. Well, he doesn't have a choice but to take me. At least I'm there and playing.
Yeah.
So.
The last guy picked for dodgeball feels like the Jets' first round draft choice. You're like, all right.
Exactly. Zach Wilson, let me ask you, do you feel like the last person picked for dodgeball?
Well, it's going to suck, but, at least I'm playing.
At least I'm playing football. There you go. At least I'm getting paid to play a sport. All right. I got a couple of things for you here. Whatchamacallit? Go back to Thanksgiving last Thursday, right? I saw this spelt out a little bit, right? It was a meme. Bears and Lions game was it said Bears and Lions game was the worst Thanksgiving game. And then
I agree.
And then the Eagles and the Giants played and said, "Hold my beer." Right? And then at night, the Browns and the Ravens played and said, "Hold my beer." And then the beginning of the Seattle-Washington game, they were thinking about saying "Hold my beer," but not so much later in the game.
There's been a lot of bad games on.
There was a lot of bad games last week. There was a lot of bad games. I got to ask you, speaking of the Seattle and Washington game, what's up with Russell Wilson? He's not Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. It's not. And it's not. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the rest of the team. I'll give him that. But he's just not. Like his passes are just. He's not him. He's not. My point is he falling off, or does he just not give a shit? Is he just phoning it in?
I think he's prepping himself to be an overpaid trade acquisition for the New York Giants.
There you go. Right.
I think he's fallen off. I think he's just having a bad year too. He didn't have a great end of last year.
He didn't have a great end of last year. No,
started off really great, MVP talk, and then he really tanked.
I would like to point out that the Seahawks with Russell Wilson did lose to the Giants last year with Colt McCoy at quarterback.
Yes.
Just want to remind everybody.
And look, the Seahawks, except for maybe that first year when they actually won the Super Bowl, have never been a real offensive juggernaut.
Well, they should have won the Super Bowl the second year.
Well, I understand that.
If it wasn't for
but they weren't an offensive. They've never been an offensive.
It was for the joint that Pete Carroll smoked right before the last call of the game.
They were a defensive team.
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
They don't.
Oh, both
that.
Please. The Super Bowl, both of those Super Bowls, both of those seasons, and any other. It was all about the defense.
Yeah.
I mean they
defense.
were good on offense, but it was all about the defense.
But that was the most explosive they've been since he's been there.
Right
now, if you put Russell Wilson on the Chiefs, or you put Russell Wilson, I mean, even Patrick Mahomes is kind of having a down year. So I don't know where Wilson stands. Would I take him over Daniel Jones?
Absolutely. In a minute.
But I've never put Wilson in the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Even
he's
when
top 10. He's top 10.
Yeah,
I'll give him top 10, but he's not top 5.
I've never put him in the top 5.
Would you put Daniel Jones in the top 5?
In a certain
of hot dog makers.
Daniel Jones isn't even in the top 5 of the New Jersey Division A Scholastic League.
Right, I get you.
He's in the bottom 5.
A certain skill set you can put Russell Wilson in the top 5, but it also says something when you have a quarterback who does have to scramble like he does and does have to kind of make those amazing plays. That says something about the team, right? The fact that he has to do that is kind of, they're not giving him a lot of protection. The pocket's breaking down.
They're not giving him a lot of protection. The pocket's breaking down. The receivers aren't getting open. It speaks volumes.
You've got a guy who's making great plays, but he's making great plays out of necessity.
I could see Wilson being a really good fit on the Giants. The Giants are not going to make that move. They're going to stick with Daniel Jones. Here's one team that's going to be looking for a quarterback next year that's probably going to hold on to a coach who's going to be looking to have a really big back bounce year, and I think he'd be a great fit. And that's
New Orleans?
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah.
I think Wilson in Pittsburgh with that coaching staff could be pretty damn good.
I could see that. I could see Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. I could see that. Yeah, because no matter what happens between now and the end of the season in the playoffs or whatever with Pittsburgh with the Steelers, Ben's retiring. Ben's done.
Ben's retiring. Yeah. The other Jimmy G might be another guy that you think about. Going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Jimmy G's gone. They're going to go Trey Lance. Jimmy G's. This is it for him in San Fran. So.
Right.
But
they're having a great year.
Yeah.
Is Pittsburgh going to? Not that I think he deserves it, but are they going to say, okay, well, Terry's gone, and maybe we needed to bring in a new coach and start a new era?
I don't think they will.
If they get a guy like Wilson, then
I don't think they will.
Around.
I think they have to keep him. I think he's earned that respect. This is the first
I agree.
bad year that he's had. He's arguably the best coach in the NFL, other than Belichick. I would say he is one of the top 5. Let's put it that way. So who are you going to replace him with?
And Pittsburgh is not a team that does that.
And Pittsburgh's
had
not
four coaches since 1731 or whatever.
And they're not a horrible team. And
they have an aging quarterback,
and they have at times played good games. So I could picture Russell Wilson going there and fitting. He seems to. I think Wilson's a little hesitant to go to a really big market team. I think he is. I don't think that's in his persona to go to an LA or New York or Dallas and really which teams are looking for quarterbacks. There's teams that need quarterbacks, but which teams are actually going to go out and need to get a quarterback? The Giants need a quarterback, but they're not going to go get one. Right. I think it's Pittsburgh's number 1 on that list. I can't think of anybody else.
Probably a good fit.
I think you're right.
What else you got, Johnny?
All right. I had to send that too. Sorry about that. All right. Moving on. I just wanted to.
That's a piss poor reason in the comments there, sir.
I know. The first one was a joke, but the second one was for real.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, only teams that were undefeated in November. 3 teams were undefeated in November. Do you know they are off the top of your head? 3 teams undefeated in November.
Well, Miami just won 4 in a row, right?
Kansas City, New England, and Miami. Only teams that were undefeated in November. And whatchamacallit? And
how many teams are winless in November?
Cowboys were one win away from being winless in November. Giants were 2. Oh, no, Giants won 2 in November, didn't they? Yeah, they won 2 in November.
All right, let's get on to the being by the coin. No?
There you go. No, I got a couple other things really quick.
All right.
I got a couple things, too.
Yeah, really quick.
We don't have to talk about other sports. It could be baseball, football this week.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great, but there's other things.
What do we need to say about the NBA? Nothing.
We'll talk about it. All right. Mac Jones. Mac Jones, I don't know if you saw this, but Chris Collinsworth said, he tweeted out, actually, Mac Jones is the best rookie quarterback because of this reason. He says he throws a catchable pass 85% of the time.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with Chris Collinsworth.
I knew you were. That's why I had to bring that up. And based on that, though, on that note, 65% plus completion percentage so far this year. All right, there have been 5 quarterbacks who have done it 8 times so far this year, and that would be Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott. Right? There's only been one quarterback that's done it more, and he's done it 10 times, and that would be Mac Jones. And he has 8 games where he's had a rating of 95 plus. So my point in saying all of this is Mac Jones real, or is this just a product of the system that is New England?
What it is the product of a coaching staff and an organization who knows what they have and puts realistic game plans and expectations on a talent like Mac Jones to be successful. They set him up to be successful rather than trying to fit somebody into something that doesn't work. Now, the reason why, what's his name, Trevor Lawrence and all these other, it's because they don't have the system, the coaching, or the team around them.
Right.
They're giving him time, but I will say this about Mac Jones. His response time, what they kind of call NFL readiness. Right. I think he's right up there with Joe Burrow, who I also thought was ready to go out of the gate. And until he got hurt, was proving that he did. And this year, I think is proving again that he's a pretty darn good quarterback. I would argue Mac Jones has a lot more talent around him than Joe Burrow does. Having said all that, I think he was a great pick for that team, and he's fitting in really well. And this idea that he's just a dink and dunk guy, he threaded that he's progressively getting better week by week. And he's an NFL quarterback. He knows how to read a defense. He knows how to make a decision quickly, and he puts the ball where it's catchable for his offensive teammates and cannot be intercepted. He does not throw a lot of interceptions. No. And that's, I think, the sign of maturity for a quarterback.
Absolutely. I agree with it. And conversely, the Patriots have had 19 takeaways. They've had 19 interceptions. It's most in the NFL right now. So
their defense is playing great.
Yeah, they're playing great football. Yeah. They really are.
Yeah, and you're right. He's definitely capable of much more than being a dink and dunk quarterback. But as we know, when you come out of college, it's way faster in the NFL.
Right, but his response time is pretty quick.
Yeah. Right. But early on, that's all they asked him to do, with rare exception, so that he could get used to the speed of the game. And I agree with everything you said.
That's a sign of a pretty smart coach. Wait, who's this coach? Maybe the best coach in the history of the game.
He's a former HC of the NYJ for
something like that.
Former tight end coach.
He's the guy who was coach of the Jets twice. He was actually coach of the Jets twice.
I think they call him Dr. Happy.
He resigned before they fired him.
The sweat, the hoodie.
So, listen, thanks for talking about yet another reason why the Jets will not be successful, because he got the ascension of Buffalo, and Mac Jones is going to be, 80% as good as Tom Brady by next year. So.
And even though you think the Dolphins stink, they've won 4 in a row, including beating Carolina by a lot.
I said, those were hollow, empty wins.
Joe Montana, when he was asked about Trey Lance and the pick that the 49ers picked about on Trey Lance, he says, I don't know why they didn't take the kid from Alabama. That's what he said. So, and they could have. Anybody. he was the last one to go of all those quarterbacks. So
I think time will tell. I think Lance has a lot of upside.
I think Lance has a lot of upside too. He does.
And I think
look, they all do. Trevor Lawrence does too. Zach Wilson has a lot of
But
upside.
you're right. So, again, Mac Jones would have fit in on the 49ers.
He would have fit very well on the 49ers. Yeah. So, two other things really quick. Right now, rushing leader right now, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, 1,205 yards. You know what number 2 is? Rushing-wise? Derrick Henry, and he hasn't played since week 8, and he's still number 2 in rushing.
Yeah. I think he was number 1 until 2 weeks ago.
He was number 1 until 2 weeks ago. Yeah, absolutely. Not this past Sunday, but the week before is when Jonathan Taylor beat him.
And Jonathan Taylor had a 200-yard game or something to break
to get there. Yeah,
didn't
exactly.
he? It was something close to that.
It was close to it. Yeah, it was close to a 200-yard game.
Yeah.
And then just wanted to. This is the top 5 polled by several people. I'll ask you your opinion really quick. Who would you say are the top 5 teams right now in the NFL? Who was the number 1 team in the NFL in your estimation? We'll go from there.
Arizona.
Harry.
Green Bay.
All right. Well, there you go. The polls, they actually polled Green Bay's number 1, Arizona number 2, and just to fill it out, Pats 3, Bills 4, Kansas City 5. So. There you go. That's what the polling right now.
Pats 4.
The Pats are 3.
Pats are 3. Bills are 4. Chiefs are 5.
Yeah, the Bucks are better than.
According to this list, and it continues to 10. I just did 5. The Bucks are 6. The Ravens are 7. The Cowboys are 8. The Rams are 9, and the Titans are 10.
The Bucks are number 2 or 3.
I would put
I'd put Tampa Bay.
I would keep the. I would say the Packers. Then I would say the Cardinals still at 2, and then I would put the Bucks after that.
Yeah, I would put the Bucks 3.
3, and
Arizona.
Pats are right there 4, and it's close, to be honest with you, between 3 and 4, and then on from there. But anyway.
I don't know why I just don't have. I think the Cardinals are. I think they're well suited to beat teams in their division and beat the Browns and beat the Texans.
Well, the Cardinals actually have to do something late in the season to convince a lot of people that they're actually
this
relevant.
Is definitely a next step kind of year.
The Cardinals might not lose another game though. They're other than the Rams, they don't play anybody for the rest of the year. They play the Bears, the Rams at home. They play the Rams at home. They go to Detroit. That'd be something if they lose to the.
That's probably the way it's going to happen.
Then they play the Colts, a team they should beat, and I think a team they match up against. The Cowboys team, who knows, and the Seahawks. This Arizona team could be 15-2.
They could go 15-2. They could absolutely go 15-2. Yeah,
easily.
Absolutely. All right. Well, on that note, should we pick some?
Let me throw a couple things at you real quick. I got some wacky stats too.
Little wacky stats.
And I also wanted to mention. A guy who we may or may not be talking about in a few minutes, signing with the Seahawks practice squad, and that's all day.
All day, yeah.
Now officially,
he was let go last week after last week, yeah.
So and he didn't have a bad stint with the Titans, but I don't know.
Maybe they looked at him and they didn't see Derrick Henry and they got rid of him. So there we go.
Yeah. All right. So just quick, November was a terrible.
Did you see who the Titans did sign to their practice squad though?
I did. I don't remember who it was.
Golden Tate.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, no one. Yeah, if you look, running backs 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Henry, we can't have him. Let's take Golden Tate.
Yeah.
Do the Titans have a quarterback?
Yeah, Ryan
Tannehill.
I know.
He's no Sam Darnold though.
He's not Sam. He's no Sam Bradford. Dude, so
yeah, that's true. All right. November was a terrible month for the betting folks.
Oh hell, it sucked. Everybody lost in November. It was ridiculous.
Underdogs covered the spread nearly 60% of the time and won 23 games outright. So if you were picking underdogs in November, which the coin was.
Yes, it was.
Although they had mixed success.
Oh.
Okay. Right now, I think is this written. When was this? Yeah, I think this came out today. Oh, no, it's from as of yesterday. So it's still true today as well. 27 teams are within a game and a half of the playoffs, and 25 teams have at least 5 wins. However,
a lot of parity.
A lot of parity.
This is the 18 at this point last season. So that's a lot. That's a lot more parity. And despite the fact, well, maybe part of the reason is that for the first time since 2014, there are no 10-win teams through week 12.
Right.
And just 2 division leaders holding more than a 2-game lead over second place.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, 25 games this season have been decided on the final play, the most through 12 weeks since the merger.
Wow. Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. So
yeah,
there you go.
And I think that's it.
All right.
Oh, and great numbers for the games on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they were good numbers.
They averaged almost 30 million viewers, the highest since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
And 38.3 million people watched the Raiders-Cowboys game. That is the
was
second
the highest,
most watched ever.
Yeah.
This is the first time the football put you to sleep before the turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It was a stinker, but people were watching it.
They were
and
watching.
by the time you got into the third, you were like, oh, I have to see who wins this shit fest.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to stick around. So.
Well, I mean, the highlight of Thanksgiving for me, and then it was a low light, was that the fact that the Lions were so damn close.
Oh,
yeah.
So close.
So damn close.
That was
so
really
close.
Disappointing.
So
That was
close.
really disappointing.
Well, not for you.
No, it was disappointing for all of us.
That's right. No, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We didn't have much parity, and it's,
Right. So.
I mean, we didn't have much discrepancy last week with our pick, so I
All
guess
right.
we should get to that next.
Let's do beaten by the coin. Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right, quick recap. John 1-5.
Ugh, bad week.
If
Bad
it
week.
wasn't for Green Bay, you would have been. And we had 6 games picked, so it was extra painful.
Mm-hmm.
So currently standing at 35-27. Me and Harry both went 2-4.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time we've all had a losing week ever.
Shitty games.
Yes.
Really
Although
were.
this week only John was beaten by the coin. You and I tied the coins.
Yeah.
So we were both 2-4 winners with Tampa Bay and Green Bay, and yours truly back on top by a game.
So Harry and I are tied, right?
Sad for me to be celebrating that on a week where I only won
2 games.
a third of the games picked. And the coin, so 36-26 for me. You guys are tied for second in the coin now. 4 games under 500 at 29-33. So
There you go.
still close.
Still close.
However, our winning percentages, I was looking at this the other day. Last year, John, you if you go look at the certificate on the website, 74% John's picks were correct.
Yeah, but we picked really easy games.
Yeah, I
last
know,
year.
but still.
We're picking the hardest games every week now.
And especially this last month is a fucked up
This last month has been so much.
And when the Jets
so
and
much parity
Giants
this month.
win, and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're all in the mid 50s right now as far as the wins we've got, which I think, considering this year, is still pretty respectable, even though we're not picking against the spread. So
Right.
anyway, let's start off with the Giants visiting the red hot winners of 4 in a row, the Miami Dolphins.
Red hot Fins.
Anybody want to take the Giants coming off a big win against an iffy Philadelphia team
With Mike Glennon at quarterback.
with Mike Glennon at quarterback, a secret weapon that's going to lull the Fins to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tua could break a hip again or something, and they could end up. I don't even know who
Well,
Miami.
see,
backup
based
is.
on that information, though, I got to tell you, I'm definitely going to go with the Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah,
Dolphins, yeah.
I'm going to take the Dolphins too.
yeah,
Harry
let's
taking
move. Yeah.
All right. And the coin says tails.
Taking the Giants.
Taking the Giants, going with the underdog trend.
There you go.
All right, Philly and the Jets.
Philly
Wasn't that a
and the
song-
Jets.
I was going to say, wasn't that a song from Elton John?
I believe so.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
tempting. Not really. So
Philly.
Philly.
Okay. Philly, and the coin.
Philly and the coin.
Tails, Philly.
Yeah, Philly.
Going with the Eagles.
We are all in agreement. All right.
Little Eagles.
Probably the most interesting game we have to pick this week.
Probably.
Certainly with the most on the line, which is them Patriots visiting them stumbling, rumbling, bumbling Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they weren't stumbling last week.
Yeah, they were rumbling
Well,
and bumbling.
they're-
but,
They're not in first place.
No, they're not.
So
I will start.
All right.
I am going to say that the system wins and the Patriots are victorious this week.
He likes the Patriots. They're red hot.
I agree.
He also likes the Patriots. It's in Buffalo, but
Does that really matter? I mean, the difference between Buffalo and Fox and
it's cold in both places.
yeah, they both suck.
It's really, I don't know how is Mac Jones's voice. It's really, really loud in Buffalo. That stadium is like in a hole in the earth.
Silent count.
I think he'll be okay.
Be right.
I don't know. I like Buffalo in this one, but they've kind of become one-dimensional.
They have no running game.
Well, they have no running game, and I think they're not.
And you can pass.
They have no running game.
They don't want Allen to run because it's getting late in the season. They don't want him getting hurt.
Right.
So when he's just a drop back passer, any team has an advantage.
And the Patriots have one of the biggest takeaways as far as
409 interceptions this year.
All right.
So I think we're all in agreement about New England.
Finally, a good Monday night matchup, though.
Yeah.
And the coin likes the home team. So the coin is going with
Let's go to the Bills.
The Bills.
The Bills.
All right, Denver visiting KC. Harry, I think it's only appropriate that you go first.
Sure.
Since you're the Denver fanatic.
Oh, God. Denver is just a team. I mean, they looked good.
Patrick Surtain looks great. He definitely is the he's the shizzle, as they say back in the secondary for Denver there. So.
Yeah, they look good. They are inconsistent as all get up though. They pummel the Cowboys and they get pummeled by the Eagles and they pummel the Chargers. I think the Chiefs need to keep winning, and I think they will. I think at home I'm going to go with Kansas City.
I concur.
Kansas City. All right.
I concur.
Yeah, I think so too. Kansas City.
If the game was in Denver, I might think a little differently. It'd be tough.
Yeah,
but
I don't think Kansas City is fixed yet.
No.
They're obviously not as good a team
neither
as
is
they
Denver,
have been the
so.
past.
I don't think
years.
Denver has enough firepower, and I don't think Kansas City will turn the ball over as much as
Kansas City is looking better.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily translate to a win every single week.
Hey, look, the Broncos win this week, and the
Broncos win. They're in first place in the AFC West.
As long as the Chargers don't win.
No, I think they're still above them.
Coin says tails, so that is Denver.
There you go.
There we go. So the coin is going all
in
upsets.
Yeah.
And the Los Angeles Clippers against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Who's home in that one?
Cincinnati.
And I will be picking Mr. Burrow and Mr. Chase to continue their show. And
I like the Bengals too. I think they're on the right track here.
Yep.
I think I have lost.
The Chargers are just a real head scratcher, man.
Yeah. Is it the Rams that I've lost more with, or the Chargers?
Rams.
It's the Rams I keep picking, right?
Yep.
So I'll take the Chargers.
All right.
That's because we have to have more than one difference. Although, well, let's see. I mean, other than the coin. Well, we're in lockstep so far.
Except for that one, yeah.
This is the only difference we have between them.
So there you go. So we all
Didn't
Harry and I go 5-0, you go 4-1, and we're all tied.
Is we're all tied up. So there we go. Or I stretch
your lead.
Extend my lead to twice as big as it is now.
Stretch your hamstring.
And that's I got to stand up, so I'll do that then. The coin is with me. Tails.
Going Chargers.
Coin likes the Clippers.
They picked the Clippers.
They're going to win.
There you go.
So the coin takes the Giants, Philly, Buffalo, Denver, and the Clippers.
There you go.
Wow. Only one team. Only one home team.
Only one home team.
Oh, Maroon.
There we go.
All right.
That'll wrap it.
So that'll wrap it up. All right. So all right. So we're going to do our top 10 list. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it a little quicker. We're not going to.
It's like speed dating.
We're going to do speed dating. We're going to let everybody know exactly what our top 10 list is.
How about this? There's usually a couple players that you throw it to me and Harry. Mm-hmm. I'll give you my comments right now.
No.
For whatever those players are.
I'm gonna.
And I have no comments.
I'm gonna breeze through them. If there's any comments, hold them till the end. I'll breeze through all of them.
All right, I was going to do them first, but that's fine.
No, well, we didn't
Actually,
say who they were yet, so nobody knows what they are. So you're getting your comments in.
Matter. Well, that would be a game for people to guess who
this
I
is
was
true.
talking
Who are you
about.
talking about? Exactly. Don't say their name. Just see what it is, right?
No, I was literally just going to go, he's great.
He's great.
He caught more passes than anyone else in team history. In the
so you're talking about Alan Page then. He caught more passes than anyone.
That's all I was going to say. No
There you
names,
go.
no nothing, no positions.
Yeah, all right. So
Let people play. It'd be like a matching thing, where you match up.
right. Yeah, match it. Yeah, just boom. Yeah, exactly.
Who was Pete talking about?
Exactly. All right.
Got to get the graphics department.
So, and of course, tonight's top 10 list is the top 10 Minnesota Vikings of all time, as you could tell from the jersey I'm wearing here. Top 10 Minnesota Vikings of all time. And, of course, in true Get On With It sports podcast fashion, we have 12. And I blame Pete because he was the catalyst for us having 12. So, in any
but
event,
I only picked 10.
Yeah, but you picked – Harry and I picked the same 10, just not in the same order. So the extra 2 we have were from your list. So there.
Oh, I see.
See how it works. All right.
There
we go. Starting at number 10 is going to be Mr. Chris Dolman, Christopher John Dolman to be exact, defensive end for the Vikings. He was drafted in 1985 by the Vikings, played 8 seasons with the Vikings, and then went on to play a couple seasons each for the Falcons and the 49ers, and then finished his career with another year with the Vikings. 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, and he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Chris Dolman, number 10 on our list. All right, that brings us to number 9. Number 9 on our list is Mr. Mick Tingle. I put Mike. It's Mick Tinglehoff. Mick Tinglehoff. Henry Michael Tinglehoff, so Mike is fine. Henry could be a name as well. There you go. He was a center. Drafted out of Nebraska actually went undrafted in 1962, but he played for Nebraska. Played his entire career with the Vikings, 17 years with the Vikings, 62 to 78. And he was an NFL champion in 69 when the Vikings went to the first of their 4 Super Bowls back then. 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. And, of course, he is also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Mick Tinglehoff, number 9 on our list. Number 8 is going to be Mr. Paul Krause. Paul James Krause, again, to be exact, safety out of Iowa in 1964. Was drafted by the Washington Redskins and played 4 years with them, and then he went to Minnesota and played 12 seasons for the Vikings. 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro. Interceptions leader in 64 with the Redskins, but he's a member of the Vikings Ring of Honor and the 50 greatest Vikings of all time. And he was the 25th anniversary team and the 40th anniversary team of the Vikings as well. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton as well. Paul James Krause, number 8 on our list. Moving on to number 7, Mr. 7 tonight. Mr. 7 is Mr. James Lawrence Marshall, Jim Marshall, defensive end out of Ohio State, the Ohio State. 4th round in the 1960 draft, 4th round. And was picked by actually the Cleveland Browns. And he played a season for the Browns and then went to the Vikings for 20 seasons. He played 20 years for the Vikings. NFL champion in 69, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler. His number 70 with the Vikings is retired, and he's in the Ring of Honor as well. He's 50 greatest Vikings as well, and the 25th and 40th anniversary teams too. And he was a national champion in college, too, in Ohio in 57. Mr. James Lawrence Marshall, number 7, Mr. 7. Moving on to number 6 is Mr. Carl Eller. Carl Eller, no middle name, listed
Thank
anyway.
God.
There you go. Saves us a second. Defensive end out of Winston-Salem. Was where he was born, obviously. Minnesota is where he played his college ball. He was drafted in the first round of 1964 draft, pick number 6 overall. He played 15 seasons for the Vikings, and then he went 1 season with the Seahawks to finish up his career. He's NFL champion in 69, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, sacks leader in 69, Defensive Player of the Year in 71. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor, 50 greatest Vikings of all time, and the 25th and 40th anniversary teams And, of course, he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Carl Eller, number 6. All right, that brings us to number 5. Number 5 is Mr. John Randall. John Anthony Randall. Undrafted in 1990. John Randall went undrafted. You believe that? In 1990 out of Texas A&M. That's amazing. He played 11 seasons for the Vikings and then went and played 3 seasons for the Seahawks afterwards. 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-team All-Pro, sacks leader in 97. Member of the 100th anniversary team, the 1990s All-Decade team. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor, 50 greatest Vikings of all time, 40th anniversary team. He's the Vikings All Mall of America field team and a member of the 100 Sacks Club. And, of course, he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Mr. John Randall, number 5 tonight. Now we get to a couple of ties. We have number 4. We have a tie at number 4. Our first number 4 is Mr. Chris Carter. Gradual Christopher Darren Carter. There, made up for Carl Eller. Gradual is his first name, Christopher Darren Carter. Anyway, wide receiver, of course, out of Ohio State. Drafted in the supplemental draft in 1987 by the Eagles. And he played 3 seasons for the Eagles and then got traded to the Vikings. Went on to play 12 seasons for the Vikings and then a year for Miami as well. He won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in 1999. He was 2-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, receptions leader in 94, 3-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader, member of the 1990s All-Decade team. His number 80 at the Vikings is retired. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor, 50 Greatest Vikings, and the 40th anniversary team. And he won the Bart Starr Award in 1995. 1,101 receptions for 13,899 receiving yards for his career. It's 12.6 yards per reception and 130 receiving touchdowns. And, of course, he is also in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Tied for number 4, Mr. Chris Carter. Also tied for number 4 is Any Day. We just talked about him before. Adrian Lewis Peterson. Adrian Peterson. Still playing football. Remember the Seahawks now, but he was a running back drafted out of Oklahoma in 2007 with the 7th pick overall in the first round. Played for the Vikings for 10 seasons and then bounced around Saints, Cardinals, Redskins, Lions, Titans. Lions, Titans, and Bears? No. Lions, Titans, and he is now on the Seahawks. So he's been bouncing around a little bit. Most valuable player in 2012. Offensive Player of the Year in 2012. Rookie of the Year in 2007. 4-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time rushing yards leader, 2-time rushing touchdowns leader. Unanimous NFL 2010s All-Decade team. 50 Greatest Vikings. And, of course, 14,902 rushing yards thus far and still counting. Adrian Peterson, tied for number 4. Brings us to number 3. We have a tie for number 3 as well. Randy Moss will be our first one. Randy Gene Moss. There we go. I think we talked about that last year. You got Moss. He didn't go with his middle name. You got Gene. So I think that was a joke last year. Anyway, let's leave it at last year. He's a wide receiver out of Marshall, drafted in the first round of the 98 draft by the Vikings. And he played 7 seasons for the Vikings, a couple years for the Raiders, a few years for the 4 years for the Patriots, back to the Vikings for a year, and then he finished up on the Titans and the 49ers a year each. Rookie of the Year in 98, Comeback Player of the Year in 07, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time receiving touchdowns leader. Remember the 2000s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor. He's on the 50 greatest Vikings of all time, and, of course, he is also in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Number 3, tied for number 3, Randy Moss. Also tied for number 3 is Mr. Randall McDaniel. Randall Cornell McDaniel, to be exact. Drafted out of Arizona State in 88. Hey, that rhymes. He played 12 seasons for the Vikings and then a couple years for the Buccaneers to finish out his career. 9-time first-team All-Pro, 12-time Pro Bowler. Remember the 90s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor, 50 greatest Vikings of all time, the 40th anniversary team. And, of course, he is in Canton as well in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 3, tied for number 3, Mr. Randall McDaniel. All right, gets us to our top 2. Number 2 is going to be Mr. Alan Page. Alan Cedric Page, to be exact. He's been on a couple other lists over the years, over the time that we've put these together, these top 10 lists. Defensive tackle drafted out of Notre Dame in 1967 with the 15th pick overall in the round number 1. Vikings, played for the Vikings for 12 seasons. And then went to the Bears for 4 years as well to finish out his career. NFL champion in 69. NFL MVP in 71. Two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. 6-time first-team All-Pro. 3-time second-team All-Pro. 9-time Pro Bowler. Player of the Year in 71. 2-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year. 100th anniversary team. 1970s All-Decade team. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor. 50 greatest Vikings of all time. 25th and 40th anniversary team is number 88 with the Vikings, is retired. And he, of course, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. And not to be forgotten, he was also an Associate Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court, too. So, number 2, Mr. Alan Page. Excuse me. That's a lot of talking. And I'm going to finish it up with number 1. Number 1 tonight, of course, is Franny. Number 1, Fran Tarkenton. Francis Asbury Tarkenton, to be exact. He was a quarterback, of course, drafted out of Georgia in the 1961 NFL draft. Round number 3, pick number 29 as well. He was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, obviously. Played for 6 seasons with the Vikings. And he was traded to the Giants and played for the Giants for 5 years. And then after those 5 years with the Giants, he went back to Minnesota and went to 3 Super Bowls. And he played another 6 seasons with the Vikings. So 12 seasons overall with the Vikings with 5 years with the Giants in between. He was the NFL MVP in 1975, Offensive Player of the Year in 75, First Team All-Pro in 75, Second Team All-Pro in 73, 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL Passing Yards Leader, NFL Passing Touchdowns Leader. Burt Bell Award in 75, Minnesota Vikings Ring of Honor. His number 10 is retired by the Vikings. 50 greatest Vikings of all time, 25th anniversary and 40th anniversary team. And 47,003 passing yards and 342 touchdowns and only 266 interceptions. His completion percentage is 57. His career rating is 80.4. And he also had 3,674 rushing yards and 32 rushing touchdowns as well. Mr. Scrambler himself, Fran Tarkenton. And of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 1 on our list tonight, Fran Tarkenton. There you go. And there's our list. Guys, have anything to say about those guys?
Here's my comments.
Go for it.
Didn't know much about him till I researched him, and then, wow, very impressive. He was
Does
great.
It go for everybody or just one person?
No, you decide.
Just Fran Tarkenton.
You decide who I'm talking about. So different guys. Okay. He was great, Mr. Consistent, and the Vikings haven't had anybody like him before or since.
Okay.
How many Super Bowls did he win? Those are my comments.
Okay. How many Super Bowls did he win? That's definitely Randy Moss. Am I right?
No.
Really?
I mean, it could be any of these guys.
It could be any of them, yeah. Really? Could
I mean, Fran Tarkenton, I think is who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's Tarkenton, yeah.
You know, what amazes
so
me
fit
about,
for you, Randy Moss, though. Come on.
What amazes me about the Vikings, and I think there could have been a couple other people on this list, was how deep of a tradition they have with their offensive and defensive linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just been some really great linemen on this team. And look at Jim Marshall, 20 seasons. 20 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
20 seasons for a lineman. Not 20 seasons for
not
20 seasons for a,
quarterback or
quarterback,
punter.
like a Tom Brady type quarterback kind of thing or
the best
or
ever,
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
That kind, the Super Bowl winning
that kind. Yeah. So, systems guard.
Lineman.
systems tackle. It's like, but no, you're absolutely right. No, and football's one in the trenches, and they knew how to do it, and for a team that made it to 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 Super Bowls, and didn't win any of them, they've been relevant a lot more than they haven't been, and that culture, that trenches and everything else has a lot to do with it. And remember, they've only been around since 1960. They're not an old team. They came in when the AFC started. They were a new NFC team.
Right. And they had a lot of teams that, their fans, even if they weren't winning at all, their fans could be proud of those teams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's almost always a team of what I consider to be a team of character, a class organization.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's almost 2 or 3 sort of eras of the Vikings that, obviously the teams that made it to the Super Bowls, but then, there were those Randy Moss and Adrian Peterson teams and, the teams with John Randall and, the Chris Carters before that. And, Matt Randall McDaniel. I mean, there's a guy who's probably one of the best offensive linemen of all time.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's, they were good. They were consistently good. They haven't had a quarterback since Fran Tarkenton, except for a wobbling on his last legs Brett Favre. It's
well, I mean, come on. They had Dante Culpepper. They had Culpepper. Come on, they had Culpepper. Right.
True, but I mean,
the best pass Culpepper ever threw is in practice from his knees.
Right.
He threw it 94 yards or whatever.
94 yards, right.
That's right. It's like
listen, they're sort of like we talk a lot about the skill positions and how you really win, as you just said, you win in the trenches, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They were kind of the opposite, where it's not that they never had anybody good, but they could never seem to put it all together,
right?
And have, there was always like one really good skill position, and
no, they went up against a lot of good teams too,
and they went up against a lot of good teams who had really, really good players at a number of skill positions, and they just couldn't quite compete.
They couldn't. Exactly. All right. That brings us to our other segment that we always do right after of Old Balls.
Old Balls.
Harry, tell us who Old Balls is tonight.
Old Balls is in keeping with the tradition of the offensive lineman of the Minnesota Vikings is none other than Mr. Gary Zimmerman. Gary Zimmerman, who was drafted by the New York Giants ahead of Reggie White. Mm-hmm. Yes, Bill Parcells did not want him. However, the Giants traded their rights to him away after he played a year for the Los Angeles Express of the USFL and traded it to the Vikings, where he played from 86 to 92. He was a 5-time first-team All-Pro and 3-time second-team All-Pro, so 8 times All-Pro and 7-time Pro Bowler, part of the 1980s and 1990s All-Decade team. 50 greatest Vikings in the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame. What makes me think of Zimmerman is that, he had great years and probably his best years with Minnesota, but he came over to the Broncos and really became the veteran leader of a very young offensive line that I think could go down as one of the best offensive lines of that 10-year span. The Broncos won back-to-back Super Bowls. He didn't play in the second one, but was certainly there in spirit. Won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, I think in 97, and was the leader of that offensive line. And he after an incident where the media sort of leaked some comments that he made off the record, he never talked to the media.
No,
and this would, and he not only didn't do that himself, he convinced all of the Denver offensive linemen to not talk to the media. It just became this silent, let's not, speak to the media. And it was a long-running tradition that would continue on a full decade for him after his retirement. He was a great, consistent offensive lineman who, look, that Broncos team that he was on they beat a really good Green Bay Packers team, and ironically, who did he go up against? Reggie White. Now, he wasn't necessarily one-on-one against Reggie White the whole game, but he was out there. He's one of these guys who could go out and block a safety or block a cornerback. And look, that offensive line for the Broncos, yes, Terrell Davis is a great running back, but he could not have done that without that offensive line.
No.
And they did it against a really good defensive team in that first Super Bowl, and was a bit of an upset.
Yep.
So he joins Reggie White, Steve Young, Jim Kelly, Marv Levy, George Allen, Bill Polian, and Sid Gilman as former USFL or AFL league members who are enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Gary Zimmerman.
Tonight's
Sweet gold balls.
There you go.
Old balls.
All right. And do we wrap it up on that?
Oh, I hope so.
We'll discuss a lot of NBA next week. There's a lot to there's a lot more to talk about with that. But we had a lot of baseball to get to tonight because of
Let
of
me
the
throw
impending lockout.
two really quick things at you.
Go for it.
Nets now lead the Knicks 102-101
102
in the all-time series after the win last night.
After the win last night, so they're
Yeah.
up. So we're tied before last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, the Nets don't beat good teams, but they beat the Knicks. So does that mean the
you
Knicks
can't
are
say
not a
that.
good team?
You can't say the Nets don't beat good teams.
Well, the Nets have gotten blown out by a number of good teams
Right.
this season.
Well,
So
let me
they
ask
beat
you a
up
question.
on teams like Detroit and stuff like that, and they lose to Golden State and the Bucks and the Bulls and Miami.
Everybody's been losing to Golden State.
Yeah.
The exception of Phoenix, which I'll tell you something. Phoenix is better than they were last year. Even without Devin Booker.
Ironically, the Nets lost to Phoenix, but only by 6.
Right.
But against the Bucks, the Hornets, Miami, the Bulls, and Golden State, all double-digit losses.
You know what the Nets
They are
need?
not only losing but getting blown out.
They have no inside presence with what's his name hurt.
Yeah,
Aldridge is a 4, not really a 5. And look, I like Patty Mills and LaMarcus Aldridge. I think that's a big upgrade, but they need a center. In this day and age, they need some, or else they're going to get beat up inside, especially by a team like Phoenix or the Bucks.
And as good as Patty Mills is from outside, and he's very good from outside, you can't replace Kyrie and Joe Harris's outside shooting from beyond the arc with Patty Mills. It's just not enough.
I think Patty Mills is a more of a stabilizing presence, and I think he enables Harden to not necessarily have the ball in his hand all the time. Now Harden's going to have it no matter what. I think that's actually helped in this latter part of this. Since the beginning of the season, Harden was still holding the ball up. Now that Mills is playing more minutes, Harden's game has gotten better, and I think it's because Harden's not having to be that full-time, point guard.
Yep.
And I do like Mills there. And if Kyrie ever comes back, boy, it gives the Nets a lot of depth.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
But you know what? They're not a championship team without him. I don't think.
I think the championship this year goes through the West, and I think it's between Phoenix, Utah, and Golden State. I really do.
But I don't consider them even necessarily. I mean, it's early, but they're amongst the favorites to get to the finals.
I think they're the best team in the East by far.
I don't know.
And and let me ask you: do you think if Randall actually did get some of those calls when he was driving last night, and he went to the line a few times at least, the score might have been a little different?
Well, the Knicks look. He shouldn't have got that. He shouldn't have got that technical. I listened to Shaq and Barkley, who I like. When it comes to big men, I think they get it. He's got to shut up and put up. He's got to play more aggressive. Put people on their ass. Put people on their ass if you want. He's not really driving and bumping and
he was driving a lot last night.
But he's not playing the power game and finishing at the rim that he did when he was with the Lakers. He's driving inside, getting a shoulder to people and shooting fade back jumpers, which is great. He had a good game. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But the Knicks are really, really susceptible at the guard position. The opposing team's backcourt can score on the Knicks at will.
Right.
And if you're relying on Derrick Rose to be your spark plug, then that spark's going to run out pretty soon.
I got you.
Well, and look, they took Kemba not only out of the starting rotation, but out of the rotation.
They heard me. I've been screaming from Denver.
Yeah, but I mean, here's and this is the question I wanted to ask you is, Tibbs said. He's a starter. I don't see him coming off the bench, so we're not going to play him at all. And Thibodeau, is this going to be something that maybe is going to drive? Look, do we know whose idea it was to bring in Kemba Walker? I don't think it was Tom Thibodeau's.
No.
So was it the management? Was it maybe a guy that Dolan liked? I know Dolan has said he was going to be more hands off. Well, it's a good story, right? Coming back to New York, blah, blah, blah.
I think the Knicks signing Kemba Walker was a way for them to sign anybody with the name recognition
to say we're doing
something
to come
to the Knicks. Other than that, a 95-year-old Derrick Rose was their biggest, acquisition. Now, they signed Randall, but Randall was not a big name. Randall's become a star in New York. Right. He was a fifth option in LA, even though he put up good numbers, and Randall's a good player. Right. The Knicks, look, I said this, for the Knicks to win, Barrett, Fournier, and Randall all have to have big games.
Right.
And if they don't win.
But here's my question. Tibbs does not seem like the kind of guy who is going to get pressure from the front office to play Kemba Walker. He's not going to fold to that.
They're going to have to play him, but and he may start against the right team when it's the right matchup.
Well, maybe if you want to give, who's the guy who's starting now? Allen
Burks.
So maybe we want to give Burks a rest. They'll start. But do you put him on the roster every night or most nights if you're not going to start him? Or do you say if he's not starting, he's not playing?
I think
essentially what Thibodeau said.
Right.
I don't know.
And so here's the question I want to do. Does this maybe get if he's kind of Dolan's guy?
Right.
Which I kind of tend to think that was a big part of the reason why he's a Knick right now, because unless whoever, I don't remember the front office the guy's names, but that's a pretty inept
Rose
move.
Is the president of
okay. So it's a pretty inept move to bring him there. That they had to know better than he was going to be the spark that was going to make him, considerably better. But so if he was more Dolan's guy than anything else, and Tibbs says, does that get James Dolan involved? And does he start throwing his weight around? And we know what happens when that happens. He ruins
James Dolan
everything.
would be a moron after what the Knicks have done in the last year and a half. To throw his weight around on Tibbs.
But James Dolan is a moron.
Well, that's true, too.
So I guess my question is, does he start acting like one?
I don't know.
If Thibodeau just, I don't know. Maybe he softens his stance and Walker comes off the bench, which might be great for him. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't seem like Tom Thibodeau is going to let anybody tell him who is playing and when. And that might be a problem.
The problem with Kemba Walker is that his speed and lateral movement is not anywhere near where it used to be. Yeah. And he's a defensive liability
with a capital D and
a capital D. Having said that,
and a capital L,
you could start. You could make the argument, to give him some time if he was scoring at any sort of rate. But he's had one good game this year. He's had one good game.
Yeah, I think 11 points a game. I think I read,
which
isn't bad.
What's his plus minus? That's really what. Yeah, so
the Knicks. Oh wait, let me throw. Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that because I heard this today. I think they're like minus 122 with him on the floor overall, and plus like $125 with him on the bench or not, off the floor. So ridiculously, it ain't coincidence.
No. And look, the other thing is, Mitchell Robinson's back. He was minus 10 last night. You can't that last foul. What are you reaching in? Go up strong. You're a shot blocker. Challenge that shot and block it. Then the ball's going the other way. The Nets don't get those 2 free throws, and the Knicks walk away with win. So it's not all on Randall. I see where Randall's trying to do. And look, I think the next game you're going to see Julius Randle go to the free throw line 10 times.
Right.
But he needs to force the issue a little bit more. He needs to force it. And I like that. But, Fournier I think he needs to shoot the ball a little bit more. Burke shot 21 times. Yep. Yeah, he scored 25 points.
He scored the most points. That's not going to happen that often.
But Barrett played 9 minutes. I don't know, and had 4 points. I don't know if he's hurt or what. But Derrick Rose quickly went in there. Quickly was in there. Those guys gave you good minutes and really productive minutes off the bench.
So you're going to say Derrick Rose went in there quickly?
Well, with quickly. I mean, the Knicks bench beat the Nets bench.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty convincingly.
They did that a lot last year, right?
Right.
Their bench was a real strength for them versus the other team's bench.
Yep.
Listen, maybe Thibodeau is going well. What were they 10-10 last night? I think going into the game.
Yeah.
And maybe he said, okay, well maybe we got to try some different things now. Kemba's not going to be starting. I think regularly. I think
even if you're a casual basketball fan,
right,
if you watch Kemba Walker, you realize that this isn't working.
Right.
This isn't working.
Now,
do the Knicks actually have some backbone and do what's right for the team, or do they do what's right to save face for Kemba Walker? He was sort of in the same position in Boston. Now, an injury sort of masked that a little bit because he was out for a good period of time. But he also didn't necessarily, he didn't mesh very well with that Boston team, and they did not perform well with him in the starting lineup. So I like him coming off the bench, but the Knicks have 3 point guards. Is Walker a point guard? I think he's a point guard. Just like I think Derrick Rose is a point guard. I think they're scoring point guards. Right. But I like Rose, especially Rose against the second team. And I think Burks proved himself last night.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we will see how that pans out throughout, obviously, the next couple weeks and what they're going to actually wind up doing with Kemba Walker. And we'll have a lot more NBA talk next week too.
One last thing, real quick.
One last thing.
Remember a guy named Isaiah Thomas?
Junior or the first Isaiah?
Not
Thomas?
The first Isaiah, the second Isaiah.
Who was on Denver last year and actually played really well.
Yeah, he played really well. He had a couple of really good years, and then he got hurt and played like 10 games a year for 3 or 4 seasons. Well, he's on the USA team now as an injury replacement. I'm not sure.
On the USA bowling team? Or
no, this is the World Basketball World Cup.
Good.
So they're in qualifiers, and Isaiah Thomas is back on that. He hopes that that will lead to a call to the NBA in return. I guess he's healthy now. Of course, they lost to Mexico by 9 the other day.
Look, he put in some good minutes last year for the Nuggets. I think it was last year.
It was last year.
It was last year. And I always scratch my head as to why he's not on somebody's roster. There's something there.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. No, it's 2018-2019 season.
That was just 2 years ago.
He was with Denver.
3 years ago.
It was the strike shirt in you? Yeah.
All right.
So so we'll see what happens with that. Look, he was hurt for like 3 years or something like that. It seemed like he just couldn't quite get healthy. So, but again, I think he's on that USA team, but they lost to Mexico. So, but they kicked the crap out of Cuba too. So that's
right. So, all right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Sounds like a plan. We don't have an over under tonight, right?
No. Oh yeah, we had the over under about the number of people.
Oh, the number of people. Yeah, the number of people Thanksgiving.
So I'll give you just quickly the rundown. So I was at my sister-in-law's house.
Right.
So one of the sister-in-laws was there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, her entire family was there.
Right.
My family was there. Some of the other.
Wait, say that again.
So there was the 3 sisters, my wife and her 2 sisters, and her 2 sisters are married to 2 brothers, and there's 6 kids in that family. So when everybody shows up, it's a big affair.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 families are intertwined. So my family was there. My sister was there. We were at my one sister-in-law's house, so her entire family was there. My other sister-in-law was not there.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of the other family, the Arendt family, the 2 brothers that are married to the 2 sisters.
Right.
Only one was there because it was his house.
Right.
Okay.
And not all the there's my wife and her sister's parents, obviously, and then there's the Arendt family of parents, which is just their mom.
Gotcha. All right. So what's the number?
They were all not there.
They were all not there. Gotcha.
So we're gonna put so let me count here. Oh, and there was someone who showed up after dinner for a while. So do we count them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
So let's see. I got to figure out how many it
is. Should I sing the Jeopardy?
1, 2, 3, 4 of my family.
Are you taking your shoes off?
No, they've been off.
They're already off. All right. So the over under is 9.5 people.
All right.
Out of a family if all the brothers and sisters are there and there's some grandkids involved, I think we're probably talking about 30 people.
Yeah.
So the over-under is 9.5 members of the whatever at Thanksgiving dinner with me.
Harry?
9.5.
9.5.
I'm going over.
Going over the 9.5 mark.
I'm going under.
John is going under.
Mhm.
All right. Very
Yeah.
interesting. So me, my wife, 2 boys, that's 4.
Mhm.
The host, his wife, the sister-in-law, their daughter, that's 7.
Mhm.
My sister is 8.
Mhm.
My wife's parents,
10.
10.
There you go. Harry wins.
And then later on,
We got
my
11.
wife's niece showed up. So 10.5, really, since she wasn't there the whole
All
time.
right. So,
But higher than 9.5. So good call, Harry.
good call, Harry. All right, good job. All right. Harry wins one.
What do I win?
You win. What does he win? Does he win one of the hamsters that talk?
He wins.
He wins. There you go. Or one of the black caps that you got for.
There you go.
There you go.
A special Pete Minetti
He wins
black
a
cap.
Special.
And I will
black
write
cap.
an inspirational message on the inside.
Inside. On the
I love
inside,
it.
like if hold it down, I get up. Hold
I
it
love
down.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
I
sorry.
love it.
There
I'll
you
write
go.
an inspirational message and sign it. So,
Sounds
All
like a
right.
plan.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
all right.
All right, we'll wrap the
Just-
show.
You guys remind me of that every week until I actually do it, because I'll just forget.
I'll remind you. I'll
right.
I'll
Send it to John.
exactly. All right. All right, we'll wrap the show up on that note for this week. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with a video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Enjoy them. Keep an eye on what's happening in the next 32 minutes with the MLB lockout. And we will talk to you soon, folks. Cheers.
By the way, more than $1.5 billion spent on free agents by Major League Baseball so far.
Very nice.
Half of that by the Mets.
Half of it by the Mets. Yeah.
And the
None of it by
lockout
the
is-
Yankees.
The lockout is 33 minutes away.
33 minutes away. There you go.
Yep.
Gotta love it.
Post lockout.
If
There
we
you
talked hockey, we might have made it to
We
midnight.
might have made it to the lockout. There you
All
go.
right.
All right, bye, everybody.
Cheers, folks.
See ya.